Chapter 890, Heading to the God Realm 2. So what do we do now? Songdi asked, not sure what to do. After spending so much time with the young lady, of course he knew what she was thinking. But there was nothing he could do now that he knew something had happened to her. It made him feel uneasy. Yechen is still unconscious. Let's wait for him to wake up. Otherwise, if anything happens to him, we won't be able to answer to Schwer, Lung Ruhan reminded him. Yes. Hearing Lung Ruhan's words, everyone nodded in agreement. That's right. Nothing must happen to Commander Yi. Otherwise, Miss would be heartbroken if she found out. Miss, you must protect yourself. Wait for us. We will come and save you. Everyone thought in unison. Everyone has to keep the matter of Schwer being captured a secret. Don't spread it. Otherwise, I'm afraid someone will use it to cause trouble. Empty said calmly. Okay. Fengda and the others nodded. Time passed. Half a month passed quickly, but Yechen still did not wake up. Even though the others visited him in his room every day, he showed no signs of waking up. They could not help but feel their hearts hanging in the air. In the courtyard, everyone was listless, and there was no trace of a smile on their faces. It had been half a month since Yechen had woken up, and at the same time, they were worried about their mistress' safety. As a result, they were all extremely depressed. The air seemed to sense their hearts, and it was unusually dull. Empty sighed. He had sighed his entire life's worth of sighs over the past 2 weeks, but they still didn't solve the problem. Sigh. Lung Ruhan, who was sitting across from Empty, sighed as if he were infected. He was worried about Yi Chun, but he missed Schwer even more. He couldn't feel happy without Schwer around. Can all of you not put on such a dead look? Sigh. Lung Qianya couldn't help but blame them. However, for some reason he also sighed. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel. Lung Xiaoyu hasn't returned yet. I wonder if he has found out where Schwer is. Empty said faintly. He should be back soon. Lung Qianya said with uncertainty. Now that Sun Tao had a backer, he was very worried about his grandfather's safety. If Sun Tao discovered his grandfather's traces, he would probably not let him off. He's awake. He's awake. Suddenly, Cui Zhu's voice entered everyone's ears. When everyone heard that he was awake, they couldn't help but raise their heads and look at her expectantly. He's really awake, Cui Zhu repeated, wincing as she felt everyone's fiery gazes on her. As soon as she finished speaking, everyone in the courtyard disappeared in front of her like the wind. Cui Zhu glanced at the empty courtyard and followed him back to his room. In the room, Yechen was sitting on the bed with his head lowered thoughtfully. When he saw everyone, he forced a smile and said, Grandpa, I'm sorry to have worried you. It's okay. It's good that you've woken up, Lung Qingtian quickly said. Well, patients who had just woken up should not be agitated, so they did not dare to mention Schwer in front of Yi Chun. Well, I'm all right now, Yechen said flatly, but his face was expressionless. Good, they all coaxed. When Yi Chun woke up, everyone was finally half relieved. Still, they couldn't quite put their minds at ease looking at Yi Chun. In the few days after he woke up, Yi Chun would spend most of his time alone in the garden. His figure was lonely, making Lung Qingtian and the others feel very sad. Schwer, are you all right? You'll protect yourself, I'm sure. Schwer, wait for me. I've almost found you. I'll save you, Schwer. Schwer, I love you. It's so hard to live without you. Schwer, did you miss me? I missed you so much. Yi Chun stood alone in the night, staring up at the moon hanging high in the sky, his heart filled with endless longing. Suddenly, a black dot of light flew in front of him. After circling him affectionately a few times, it landed in his palm. The black dot was tiny, about the size of an adult's fingernail, but if you looked closely, you would see that it wasn't a black dot at all. Besides, it was a miniature black phoenix. The little black phoenix communicated with Yi Chun in a strange language, then disappeared into his body. Then Yi Chun turned and went back to his room. The next day, Yi Chun was waiting in the courtyard early. When he saw Fengda and the others, he said bluntly, I'm going to the God Realm. Grandpa isn't back yet. Lung Qianya couldn't help but say. For some reason, ever since Yi Chun woke up, he had become strange and rarely paid attention to them. This made them very uncomfortable. I know. There will be no conflict between him coming back and me going or not. Yichen said flatly, his will oddly strong. He must go to the God Realm. The God Realm is very big. If we go there rashly, not only will we not be able to find little Schwerer, but we will also be in danger. Lung Qianye said very implicitly. Sigh. Those who had never been to the God Realm would never imagine what the God Realm was like. It was not a place for humans at all. I already know Schwerer's whereabouts, so I have to go. Yi Chen's words were like a bomb, blowing everyone's brains out. How do you know where little Schwerer is? Lung Qianye was very curious. His grandfather had been in the God Realm for almost a month, but there had been no news from him. It was unbelievable that someone who had never left the boundless heaven continent would have news of little Schwerer. I have my sources, of course, Yichen said with a chuckle. He felt better now that he knew Schwerer's whereabouts. How dare they try to take his woman? They would have to pay for it. Where's Schwerer now? Lung Qianye probed. The One Family's divine realm, Yichen said. One of the 8 God realms, the One Family's divine realm? Lung Qianye said in disbelief. Chapter 891. Heading to the God Realm 3. The Divine Realm. What kind of concept was that? The Divine Realm was vast and had many families, but only 8 families could be recognized as the Divine Realm. These 8 families had a long history in the Divine Realm, and their forces in the Divine Realm were deeply rooted. Almost no one could shake them. Therefore, after hearing the word Divine Realm, Lung Qianye's heart could not help but sink. That's right. Are you afraid? Yichen smiled faintly and didn't say much. To him, as long as he could save Schwerer, not even the Divine Masters could stop him. It's not that we're afraid, but with our current strength, it's almost impossible for us to go to the One Family's Divine Realm to save them, Lung Qianye said worriedly. Not to mention them, even his grandfather was not a match for the One Family. This Divine Realm is not the other Divine Realm. Neither Schwerer nor Sun Tao can go there now, Yichen explained. Are you talking about the One Family's Divine Realm on the Divine Continent? Lung Qianye hurriedly said. Just now, he was frightened by the word Divine Realm, and immediately thought of that place. What do you think? Yichen rolled his eyes at Lung Qianye. I accidentally thought wrong. You can't blame me. In the God Realm, as long as you mention the Divine Realm, you will think of it, Lung Qianye explained. There, none of us can go there now, Yichen said quietly. I say, what are you talking about? Why don't I understand? What One Family's Divine Realm and 8 great Divine Realms? Feng Da's face was full of question marks as he asked the question in everyone's hearts. In our upper realm, which is the God Realm, there are 8 strongest and most powerful families among the human forces. Their families are called the God Realm and the God Realm, and are also called the 8 great God Realms, Lung Qianye explained. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel. Como? Then what is the Divine Continent? Didn't you just say that the upper realm is the Divine Realm? Feng Da asked shamelessly. He was confused by the conversation between Commander Yi and Lung Qianye just now. Sigh. I'll teach you the basic knowledge of the Divine Realm. You're all mystic supremacies now, right? If you break through to mystic supremacies, you won't be able to stay in the boundless heaven continent anymore. And the upper realm you're going to is the Divine Realm that cultivators yearn for. However, even though you can go to the God Realm, you can't be considered gods. When you reach the God Realm, you can only be called gods. Only when your bodies are completely transformed into energy bodies can you truly become gods. And the Divine Continent is where we, the ascended gods, and the natives of the God Realm below the level of the gods live. Even though the gods can also go there, the gods cannot harm us there. Otherwise, they will be punished by the rules of heaven and earth. However, even so, we were not completely without danger there. Those of us who went from the lower realm to the God Realm were called ascendants, and the native inhabitants of the God Realm despised us. In their eyes, we were all inferior. As a result, we were often bullied and suppressed by them. Therefore, after you go to the God Realm, you have to be careful in everything. Don't easily expose the news that you are an ascender. Otherwise, it won't be good if you are targeted. Lung Qianye explained very implicitly. In fact, there were many things that he didn't say. He was mainly afraid of scaring them because the situation in the God realm was even more serious than he said. Then won't we be restrained when we go to the God realm? Fengde couldn't help but ask. Most of his yearning for the God realm had disappeared. Not necessarily. As long as you have enough strength, even the natives of the God realm can't do anything to you. Besides, the God realm has the territory of an ascender. They say that if you join them, your life will be guaranteed, Empty said. The God realm also depends on strength. As for the ascender forces, I advise you not to have too much hope. That place is not as beautiful as you think, Lung Qianya said with slight disdain. Why? Fengde asked curiously. Joining the ascender requires one to be at least a high-level god. If not, you have to know how to refine pills, refine weapons, tame beasts and so on. In short, unless you have outstanding skills, don't even think about it, Lung Qianya said indifferently. Yes, and the status of the new members won't be high. You'll have to work for them. If you provoke the powerful natives, they might not have anyone to stand up for you, Empty said with a smile. The mockery in his eyes flashed. Then why did you mention it to us? Fengde was a little puzzled. Wasn't it too boring? I'm just trying to warn you guys. Empty whined. Actually, my grandfather and I joined there before, but I was just a companion. They took a fancy to my grandfather. After staying for a while, we left. Therefore, based on my experience, I really don't want you to join any faction. You have to know that it's better to rely on yourself than others. Lung Qianya said earnestly. The God realm was not a good place. Aren't you thinking too much? We didn't intend to join any faction. We're all following Mississippi. Well, go wherever Miss goes. Chengwu said firmly. That's right. We only follow the lady. Chengwu's words were echoed by everyone. Commander Yi, we want to go with you to save Mississippi. Chengwu looked at everyone. Well, the two of them are right. The God realm is indeed not peaceful. You have to be more careful when you go there and improvise, Yechen advised. Don't worry, Commander Yi. Without Miss around, you're our leader. Well, listen to you. Chengwu said on behalf of everyone. All right, let's go advance now, Yechen said. Yes. Everyone nodded. Then, Lung Ruhan summoned his old dragon and instructed it to bring them to the valley below the back mountain to advance. After Long Yu came out, he transformed into his largest form. Then, when everyone sat on his back, a golden light flashed and disappeared. In the blink of an eye, they had reached the bottom of the valley. Chapter 892, Going to the God Realm for Little Master. We're here. Long Yu reminded the stunned crowd. Oh. After Lung Ruhan and the others reacted, they hurriedly jumped off Long Ye's back, and each found a place to advance. After everyone sat down cross-legged, they summoned their beasts. Not long after, the heaven-earth laws descended upon the entire valley. In an instant, a dazzling light descended from the sky and enveloped everyone. It rose and fell, one after another, for a long time. When the heaven-earth laws slowly disappeared, another wave of beast tide descended. After a long while, the entire valley was bathed in light. After an unknown period of time, the heaven-earth laws finally slowly disappeared, and the advancement of everyone and the beasts officially came to an end. Lung Qianya, who was watching from the side, did not know what to say when he saw this spectacular and grand scene. However, after being with them for a long time, he seemed to have adapted to their unexpectedness. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel. As for Long Yu and the other level 9 dragons and phoenixes who could not advance on the boundless heaven continent, even though they were extremely envious of the beasts that advanced, they also knew that as long as they left the boundless heaven continent, they could continue to advance. Moreover, even though they could not advance, the benefits brought by their master's advancement could not be ignored. After Yi Chun and the others advanced, a message from the rules of heaven and earth appeared in their minds. Leave the boundless heaven continent in 7 days. When everyone received this message, they knew that they were really going to leave this time. After returning to the courtyard at the back of the mountain, Lung Qianya saw that everyone was a little silent, so he said, You don't have to be too sad. There's still a chance for you to return to the boundless heaven continent in the future. Any conditions for returning? Lung Ruhan asked curiously. As long as you pay 1,000,000 superior-grade crystals, you can come back, Lung Qianya said. Everyone did not understand. How much was 1,000,000 superior-grade crystals? By the way, you won't be able to use purple gold coins in the God Realm. The currency in the God Realm is crystals. The most valuable ones are supreme-grade crystals, followed by superior-grade, medium-grade and low-grade crystals. In addition to being used as loan money, crystals can also assist in cultivation, Lung Qianya explained. Then he took out a pile of blue crystals from his ring and placed them on the table. Are these crystals all water type? Feng De looked at the blue crystals and curiously picked one up to observe. Yes, they're all water attribute. Grandpa, Big Grandpa, and I are all fire attribute and wind attribute, so water attribute crystals are not very useful to us. Therefore, we use these crystals to trade. However, during the transaction, some people will specially ask for the attributes of the crystals. If they don't have them, there's no way to complete the transaction. However, there are also shops that specially exchange crystals of the same attribute for themselves. As for the details, you will know when you reach the God Realm. These are for you to use. You should have enough money to save, Lung Qianya explained. I'll just leave this money in your hands. If we use it, we'll borrow it from you, Feng De said. He did not dare to put these crystals in his hands. Otherwise, he was afraid that he would accidentally use them to cultivate because he had the water attribute. Bring some each. After we bring them to the God Realm, you might not be together, Lung Qianya said. How did this happen? Tuizhu was so anxious that she was about to cry. What happens if we split up? Feng De couldn't help asking. You might encounter danger. However, the first thing you must remember after entering the God Realm is to go to the Guild of Gods in your city to accept the energy conversion. At the same time, don't expose yourself as an ascender. As long as you don't say it yourself, it will be difficult for the natives to tell. You must remember not to meddle in other people's business, Lung Qianya reminded them. Yes. Everyone nodded. I've prepared a map of the divine continent for you. If we really split up, we'll meet up in the one family's divine realm, Yichen said. Okay, they all agreed. You're quite well prepared, Lung said thoughtfully, looking at Yichen. He didn't even have a complete map of the divine continent in his possession. He didn't expect this monstrous man to have one. Not only that, but since Yichen had woken up, had seemed like a different person. Had even learned of Schwer's whereabouts, which made him wonder about Yichen's identity. I didn't prepare the money, Yichen said flatly. He had no concept of money in his heart. So his thoughts were not as comprehensive as Lung's. These are all my assets. Most of them are low-grade crystals, and a small number of medium-grade crystals. Therefore, before saving little Schwer, you should use them sparingly, Lung Qianya said with some shame. It was not easy to earn money in the God Realm. Yes. Everyone understood. However, in order not to discourage him, they did not tell him that Miss had top-grade fire attribute crystals. Chenggu, send someone to Green Dragon Mountain later, Yichen said after some thought. They had planned to go to Green Dragon Mountain to see the seven brothers before leaving, but now their plans had been disrupted. Okay. Chengwu nodded and personally went to Azure Dragon Mountain. 7 days later. Once Yichen and the others had arranged everything in the lands of Himelian, they waited in silence for the moment of departure. In fact, they held each other's hands tightly so that they wouldn't be separated. They didn't know if it would work, but they didn't want to miss the slightest opportunity. With the arrival of the guiding divine light, Yichen and the others, who were enveloped in the divine light, disappeared into the courtyard at the back of the mountain a moment later. Chapter 893. Energy Conversion 1. After Lung Qianya saw Yichen and the others leave, he also cast a few spells into the void. Not long after, a teleportation array appeared in front of him. Empty and Yichen exchanged looks and walked in together. The God Realm was an infinitely vast and ethereal space. Legend had it that the God Realm had no borders. Everything was white. In the God Realm, there were cultivators born and bred in the God Realm, beasts, and cultivators who had ascended from the lower realm. Cultivators who had ascended to the god realm were called ascenders by the people in the god realm, while ascenders called those born in the god realm natives. There was also a long history of conflict between natives and ascendants. In the god realm, the human race and the beast race were not harmonious. However, as long as the other party did not take the initiative to provoke them, the two forces could be considered to have minded their own business. Not counting the forces on the Divine Master's side, there were 8 most powerful and powerful families in the human race. They were collectively called the 8 Great Divine Realms by the people of the God Realm. The God Realm was divided into 2 regions. Among them, the place where cultivators below the Divine Realm lived was called the Divine Continent. Whether it was the 8 great clans that belonged to the 8 Divine Realms or the middle and small forces of the God Realm, they would establish their own family branches in the Divine Continent. Divine Continent. The one family's Divine Realm, one of the 8 Great Divine Realms. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. The One Family was one of the 8 great families of the God Realm. They were ranked 5th among the 8 great families. The disciples of the One Family had a bad temper, and had always acted recklessly in the God Realm. Therefore, the One Family's reputation in the God Realm was not good. However, with the ancient inheritance and powerful strength of the One Family, these were nothing, and no one dared to talk about the One Family's mistakes in front of them. At this moment, in an inconspicuous room in the One Family's courtyard, a beautiful woman was sitting by the window with a depressed expression. Her thoughts had long flown somewhere. Elder sister, don't worry. We'll definitely find a way to escape. Qingju comforted her through voice transmission. Yes, I know, Lung Ruoxue replied, but there was still no smile on her face. It had been a few days since she was captured and brought here. After the master and disciple threw her here, they never appeared again. However, this was exactly what she wanted because she did not want to see Sun Tao now, let alone guarantee that she would not beat him up after seeing him. Besides, after the mysterious, powerful man had taken the net of light away from her, she had been able to contact Qingju. That was probably the best thing that had happened to her since she had been captured. Beauty, your brother is here to see you. Did you miss me? A nasty voice sounded outside the door. Speak of the devil. Lung Ruoxue stood up impatiently and looked at Sun Tao standing outside the door. She said angrily, No, I don't want to see you for the rest of my life. Beauty, you're too heartless. Master has already promised me that as long as I cultivate to the high-level God realm, he will let us dual cultivate, Sun Tao said happily, his face filled with pride. Oh, then what's your cultivation level now? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously, but she couldn't help but grumble in her heart. Go find a Sao to dual cultivate. Elder brother is now a low-level high-level god, Sun Tao said proudly, his tail almost sticking up. It's still early. Why are you so happy? Lung Ruoxue was a little amused. Her cheap ancestor was only an intermediate high-level god. It was said that he had cultivated for a long time. With Sun Tao's aptitude, he would have to cultivate for thousands of years. Who said that? Master said that with his secret technique, I can cultivate to the high-level deity realm in less than 50 years. So beauty, wait for me. Sun Tao winked at Lung Ruoxue. Countless black lines slid down Lung Ruoxue's forehead. She thought to herself that this guy really dared to talk. She would become an old lady in 50 years. However, this was good. At least this guy wouldn't harass her for 50 years. Thinking of this, her mood immediately improved. Sun Tao, I've been here for a few days and have been locked up. No one has spoken to me. Sigh. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and said, Beauty, I'm here to accompany you, Sun Tao said quickly. Then can you come every day? Lung Ruoxue blinked her beautiful eyes and asked Sun Tao as if she was looking forward to him coming. Of course not. Master is very strict. I sneaked out. Sun Tao said awkwardly. He didn't expect the beauty to miss him so much. He was so happy. Sigh. I'm almost bored to death. Lung Ruoxue sighed heavily and muttered in her heart, I knew you couldn't come, So what do you want? Sun Tao ventured. Let me out, even if it's for some fresh air in the courtyard. Lung Ruoxue chuckled. Her smile was like a spring breeze blowing into Sun Tao's heart. I can't help it. Master locked you here. No one can open the barrier unless he comes personally, Sun Tao said innocently. Oh, Lung Ruoxua nodded lightly. This was within her expectations, so she didn't have much hope. Then bring me some books. By the way, what is this place? Lung Ruoxua suddenly asked. This is the divine domain of the one family in the God Realm's God Continent, so don't even think about escaping. Stay here obediently. There are many bad people outside, Sun Tao reminded him. Then he said, I'll go find some books for you. Okay. Lung Ruoxua nodded obediently. Escape? She had to escape. However, when she heard Sun Tao say that there were many bad people outside, she almost laughed. That guy was not a good person himself, but he actually said that there were many bad people outside. It was really ridiculous. Sister, so we're in the one family's divine realm. Say, it seems like we can't escape for the time being. Seeing that Sun Tao had left, Qingju couldn't help but send a voice transmission. His sister was afraid that Sun Tao's master would discover her, so she didn't dare to casually enter the bracelet now. They could only communicate via voice transmission. Is the one family's divine realm very powerful? Lung Ruoxua asked in confusion. She knew nothing about the divine realm, and didn't want to come so early, but she was captured now. Chapter 894. Sister, there are humans and beasts in the God realm. Among the humans, the most powerful are the 8 divine realms. Of course, no matter how powerful they are still under the jurisdiction of the divine master. Qingju said softly. In that case, Sun Tao is hugging a big thigh. Lung Ruoxua frowned in frustration. Yes, in the one family's divine realm, our chances of escaping are very small. Unless sister has the strength of that man, we will definitely be discovered, Qingju reminded. Oh, in that case, we can only take things as they come, Lung Ruoxua said indifferently. In fact, other than being unable to move freely, the food here was quite good. She couldn't help but comfort herself. Lung Ruoxua looked at the translucent film blocking the door with boredom, and poked it with a finger curiously. Well, it was quite elastic and couldn't be poked. When Sun Tao returned, he saw Lung Ruoxua poking at the membrane at the door happily. He couldn't help but laugh. Looks like Beauty has found another joy. Yes, Lung Ruoxua said lightly, obviously distracted. Beauty, I've brought you a book. Sun Tao threw a storage ring into the door. Yes, you can leave now. Lung Ruoxua picked up the ring and glanced at it, before saying to Sun Tao, Beauty, how can you be so realistic? Sun Tao pretended to be sad. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel. Get lost. Lung Ruoxua roared. He actually thought she was realistic after capturing her. Did she have to give him any face? Hee. Beauty, I was just teasing you. Don't be angry. I'll leave. After saying that, Sun Tao immediately disappeared. The annoying person finally left. Lung Ruoxua muttered to herself and took out the book in her ring. She sat on the chair and flipped through it. Lung Ruoxua sat quietly by the window and read, while Feng Zhan and the other old phoenixes in the bracelet kept walking around. Don't go. You're making me dizzy, Green Jaw said, unable to stand it. Sigh. I was thinking of a way. Feng Zhan frowned. None of us are a match for that man unless you and the others can come out of seclusion. Qingju said knowingly. Isn't that the same as not saying anything? If those guys could come out of seclusion, we wouldn't be trapped here. Feng Zhan said gloomily. Sigh. His strength. He didn't know when he could recover to his peak. The Phoenix clan was different from Yu and the others. Even though Yu and the others were sealed, their strength was still there, so they naturally recovered quickly. When they were exiled to the lower realm, their cultivation was almost completely lost. Therefore, even if they cultivated again, if they did not leave the boundless heaven continent, they could not continue to advance. Even if they left, they had to cultivate slowly. Then there's no other way now. We can only wait, Qingju said gloomily. Sigh. Other than the time his old master died, he hadn't felt so aggrieved in a long time. Feng Zhan sighed heavily again. Outside the bracelet, Lung Ruoxua was still focused on reading. After some time, Lung Ruoxua finally finished reading a book. However, after reading the book and gaining a general understanding of the God realm, her mood became even heavier. Energy conversion. After mystic supremacy was mystic God. After advancing to the mystic God, he could go to the mystic God association in the God realm to undergo energy conversion. Even though the first energy conversion could at most transform 10% of the human body into an energy body, with this 10%, one could use divine power, and divine power and mystic energy were definitely not on the same level. However, now that she was locked here, not only was she unable to advance, but she was also unable to undergo energy conversion. The sense of powerlessness she felt after being captured deepened. The little girl seems to be in a heavy mood again. Suddenly, a teasing voice entered Lung Ruoxia's ears, but she didn't see anyone. Lung Ruoxia didn't even look up when she heard this voice. To put it bluntly, she couldn't be bothered. Little girl, if you want to advance, I can arrange an energy conversion for you. The man chuckled as if he liked to see Lung Ruoxia depressed. No need, Lung Ruoxia said angrily. She already knew that her every move here couldn't be hidden from that man, so she didn't dare to risk entering the bracelet. Now it seemed that her foresight was right. I meant well, the man said again. Thank you for your kindness, but I don't need it, Lung Ruoxia said lightly. She would rather not advance now than let this man know that she actually had so many beasts. Beasts couldn't be exposed. The little girl doesn't seem to have a good impression of me. The man's bitter voice sounded again. You're right. No one will have a good impression of their kidnapper, Lung Ruoxia said honestly. You're really honest. If I don't capture you, that disciple of mine won't be able to focus on cultivating, so I can only trouble you, the man said helplessly, but there was no apology in his tone. Lung Ruoxia really wanted to curse when she heard the man's words. Damn it, what does your disciple not cultivating properly have to do with me? If he doesn't cultivate properly, you can just teach him a lesson. Why did you capture me? Could it be that with her around, Sun Tao will cultivate diligently? Why did you take Sun Tao as your disciple? That guy's aptitude isn't the best. Lung Ruoxia asked in confusion. According to Qingju, this man should be an ultimate god. An ultimate god. He was one of the strongest people in the god realm besides the divine master. However, he actually took Sun Tao, that trash, as his disciple. Therefore, she couldn't understand why this master-disciple pair liked each other. Sun Tao and I are fated to be masters, so I accepted it. The man's tone was light, as if he was saying, have you eaten today? Ape feces. Lung Ruoxia was a little speechless. She just didn't know which of the two was an ape and which was feces. Call it fate. Little girl, I have something to do. I'll talk to you another day. The man's voice disappeared. Chapter 895, Chat? I don't want to chat with you, Lung Ruoxia thought to herself, then went back to reading. At this moment, in a desolate place in the god realm, several figures appeared after a dazzling light flashed. Where is this? Fonda looked around and then looked at the map, but he could not see anything. There's no need to look. This place isn't on the map, Yichen said helplessly. It had never occurred to her that they would be led to a barren, God-forsaken place. Then what should we do? Fonda and the others were dumbfounded. It doesn't matter where. We'll find the way eventually. Do you want to see everyone first? Yichen instructed. Yes. Fonda looked quickly, but was powerless to see that there were indeed fewer of them. Commander Yi Chengwu and the others are not here, Fonda said again. At least 30 people were missing from their team. Yes, let's leave this place. Yichen nodded. Alas, they had indeed separated. However, he was already very satisfied to have so many people gathered together. At least his grandfather and the others were all here. And he was at ease with Chengwu and the others. Sit in my beast, Lung Qingtian said and summoned Lei Shao. It was better not to be too ostentatious when they first came to the god realm. However, he couldn't understand why the places they were led to were so desolate. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. Yes, Yichen agreed nodding. After everyone sat on Thunder Knight's back, Thunder Knight flapped his huge wings and left. After nearly 2 days of flying, they finally arrived at a city. This city was called Faraway City, and it belonged to the Qi family's divine realm of the 8 great divine realms. It could only be considered a medium-sized city in the city that the Qi family belonged to. After entering the city, Yi Chen and the others first found a guest shop before heading straight to the Mystic God Association in Faraway City to undergo energy conversion. The Mystic God Association of Faraway City was located in the center of Faraway City. It was a dark golden 3-story building. After Yi Chen and the others pushed open the door of the association and walked in, someone immediately welcomed them. Hee everyone, you're here to undergo energy conversion, right? The association waiter asked with a smile. Seeing so many people, he only had one thought in his mind, which was that he could get more crystals this month. Yes, Yi Chen agreed. 10 middle-grade crystals for each person, the waiter said with a smile. He was so happy that his mouth could not close. What? You're robbing money. Why is it so expensive? Fonda couldn't help but roar. His roar immediately attracted the attention of everyone in the hall. It's not expensive. This is the public price. You'll know when the time comes, the waiter explained very patiently. He was not dissatisfied with Fonda's doubts. It could be seen that his quality was extraordinary. How is that not expensive? Fonda muttered softly. One had to know that the exchange ratio of supreme grade, superior grade, medium grade, and low-grade crystals was 1 to 100. In other words, 1 medium-grade crystal was equivalent to 100 low-grade crystals, and this energy conversion was equivalent to 1,000 low-grade crystals. According to Lung Qianye, crystals were difficult to earn, and they didn't have much money on hand now, so he naturally felt the pinch. It's not expensive. Pay up. Yi Chen generously took out 10 medium-grade crystals and handed them to the waiter. Seeing this, the others also took out money and handed it to the waiter. You're not together. The waiter looked at the crystals in his arms and said tearfully. Some of these people had given him medium-grade crystals, and some had given him 1,000 low-grade crystals. Therefore, he almost couldn't take them. We only came together. In fact, we weren't very close, Yi Chen explained. That's right. We met on the way. Fonda smiled evilly. After deliberately giving the waiter 1,000 low-grade crystals, he was much happier. Got it. The waiter walked into the counter and put the crystals away. Then he handed each of them a silver card. This is your identification card in the God realm. Just drip your blood on it so that it would recognize you as its master, the waiter explained. He gestured for everyone to follow him upstairs after Yi Chen and the others were done with that. After walking to the 3rd floor, the waiter arranged a room for each of them and reminded them that the longer they stayed inside, the better. Actually, even if the waiter did not explain anything about the conversion, they knew because Lung Qianye had already told them. The waiter left the 3rd floor after making the arrangements. Yi Chen and the others looked at each other and walked into their rooms. In the room, there was a huge pool. The pool was filled with milky white thick liquid. This liquid contained a huge amount of spiritual energy. This was the legendary spirit-converting liquid. The energy conversion required one to enter the pool and absorb this liquid. As for how much one could absorb, it depended on one's aptitude. Moreover, the spiritual liquid had a certain cleansing effect. Yi Chen looked at the spiritual liquid and walked straight into the pool. Then he slowly sat down and began to absorb it. Well, after absorbing this spiritual liquid, he should be able to advance a few levels. Schwer, wait for me. I'm coming for you. 3 days later, the waiter from the Mystic God Association in Faraway City stared at the staircase and was extremely envious. It seemed that those people's qualifications were not bad. It had been 3 days and they still had not come out. Well, should he report this matter to the headquarters? However, the president was not around now, so he could not make the decision. Forget it, he shouldn't be so nosy. The president was so petty. If he knew that he had passed him and directly reported the situation to the headquarters, he would definitely make things difficult for him. Not to mention that it had only been 3 days. Normally, the longer one stayed in the conversion pool, the better one's aptitude would be. However, most cultivators could only stay for 1 to 2 days. Those who could stay for 3 days could already be considered geniuses. However, it was not that there were no geniuses who stayed longer in the god realm. As for the geniuses of the big families, they would not change in the mystic god association. Therefore, if they stayed for 3 days and reported to the headquarters, someone would definitely think that he was making a mountain out of a molehill. After thinking it through, the waiter stopped being nosy. Chapter 896. No one emerged after 5 days. There were slight cracks on the waiter's face. 10 days later, Yi Chun and the others still hadn't come out of the conversion pool. He couldn't stay calm anymore. This was too abnormal. If it was just one person, it wouldn't be a big deal. But now not a single person had come out. My God! Were they even humans? The waiter's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. However, he was more curious about how long these people could stay inside. Therefore, he completely forgot to report this matter, and just stared at the staircase and waited foolishly. Another 5 days passed. At this time, it had been half a month since Yi Chun and the others entered the conversion pool. The attendant stared at the staircase as usual. Suddenly, he felt the laws of heaven and earth descend. And there was more than one. They descended one after another. He was dumbfounded again. As the rules of heaven and earth descended on the mystic god association, the entire faraway city was shocked. Instantly, the people living in mystic god association were attracted and gathered at the entrance of the association. Even though people were curious, none of them dared to barge into the association. The dazzling laws of heaven and earth lasted for a long time before slowly disappearing into the sky. Not long after, Feng De and the others walked down the stairs in high spirits. At this moment, the waiter, who had already regained his senses, hurriedly walked up to them and said enviously, "Congratulations on advancing on your first transformation." There were not many people who could advance to the junior god level during their first transformation, but it was not unheard of in the history of the god realm. However, this was the first time so many people advanced at the same time. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. And this first time had happened under his witness. Therefore, at this moment, the waiter was definitely proud. He was even happier than when he had advanced. Hehe. I was just lucky, Feng De said humbly. Hehe. Luck is also a part of strength. The waiter said with a smile, and his attitude towards Feng De and the others became even better. There's still someone who hasn't come out? The waiter couldn't help but ask when he realized that he didn't see the most monstrous man. He shouldn't be done yet. Well, take our leave first. After Feng De finished speaking, he immediately left with everyone. Before they came, they had already discussed who would go to the guest shop to wait after the conversion. Feng De and the others were slightly stunned when they saw the people gathered at the door. However, they quickly walked past the people at the door calmly. Brother, you guys just came out. Do you know who was advancing just now? Suddenly, a man grabbed Feng De's arm and asked with a gossipy expression. I don't know. The person who advanced hasn't come out yet. Feng De said without blushing or panting. Then he swaggered out of the mystic god association. The man who was pulling Feng De looked at the backs of Feng De and the others in disappointment. Sigh. He thought that they were the ones who had advanced just now, but it turned out that they weren't. Thinking of this, he turned his gaze back and stared at the entrance of the association. After Feng De and the others returned to the room behind the inn, they nervously wiped the cold sweat off their foreheads. They all had lingering fears. Did they go a little too far this time? It was not so easy to be an idol. I wonder when Commander Yi will be able to come out. With such a huge commotion now, will we be in trouble staying here? Lin Yuan couldn't help but ask. What are you afraid of? If someone asks us, we can just deny it, Feng De said disapprovingly. He believed that the waiter would not casually reveal their information to others. That will have to do, Hayashi agreed. After that, they stayed in the guest room and waited for Yi Chun. 5 days later, another law of heaven and earth descended on the mystic god association in the faraway city. However, there was only one law of heaven and earth this time, so it didn't cause much of a stir. As the law of heaven and earth disappeared, Yi Chun walked out of the room. When he reached the hall downstairs, Yi Chun glanced at the waiter who was in a daze and left the mystic god association. After Yi Chen left, the waiter suddenly reacted and hurriedly ran to the room on the third floor. After entering, his eyes widened in disbelief. Oh my God! Was this real? An entire pool of spirit transformation fluid was actually gone. Previously, he was already very surprised to see that there was less than a fifth of the spirit transformation fluid in Feng Da's room. However, that monstrous man had actually absorbed all the spirit transformation fluid. This was definitely not human. Seeing this, he suddenly realized that Yi Chen had just left the guild. No, he couldn't let such a monster leave just like that. He had to report to headquarters. Unfortunately, his reaction was too slow. By the time he sent people to the various guest shops in the Fengda to find Yi Chen and the others, Yi Chen was already on the way to the One Family's divine realm with Fengda and the others. In a courtyard in the One Family's divine realm, Leng Ruoxue sat in a chair and looked at the books that were piled up like a small mountain in front of her, but she couldn't read anymore because those books were sent by that man. She didn't want to read books now. She wanted freedom. Just as Leng Ruoxue was feeling depressed, a black light spot suddenly flew in from the window. After circling around her a few times, it landed in her palm. Chapter 897. You're even more beautiful when you don't speak. 1. Leng Ruoxue raised her hand and looked at the black light spot in her hand, but she was surprised to find that there was actually a small black phoenix in the light spot. Moreover, even though the phoenix had all its small facial features, its pitch black and bright little eyes were looking at her. Not only that, there seemed to be a hint of bitterness in the little phoenix's bright eyes. How could this be? Leng Ruoxue was puzzled. Then she curiously stretched out a finger and gently touched the feathers on the little phoenix's body, only to find that the feathers were abnormally soft and felt very good. Ugh! How could there be such a small phoenix in the world? Leng Ruoxue couldn't figure it out, but she was quite envious of this little phoenix's freedom, unlike herself, who was a bird in a cage and couldn't fly out even if she wanted to. That detestable man had not only set up a barrier outside the door, but also around the window. Even though the barrier here at the window was netted, unless she could become as small as this little phoenix, she would not be able to escape even if she had wings. As if sensing Leng Ruoxue's mood, the little black phoenix gently rubbed its head against her palm as if it was comforting her. Hehe, are you comforting me? Leng Ruoxue muttered to herself, her beautiful face revealing a happy expression. The little phoenix raised his head and stared at her with eyes as dark as the night sky. He looked at her deeply, as if he had 1,000 words to say. Your expression is really similar to that freak. Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but whisper when she saw the little phoenix's expression. When the little phoenix heard this, it jumped excitedly in Leng Ruoxue's palm, and even spun around. Little phoenix, where are you from? You're so small. Leng Ruoxue felt the little phoenix's happiness, and asked curiously. The little phoenix looked sad when it heard Leng Ruoxue's words and called out softly, but Leng Ruoxue didn't understand what it meant. I don't understand you. Leng Ruoxue said gloomily. The little phoenix also lowered its head, its eyes revealing a sad expression. Hehe, it's okay, don't be sad, Leng Ruoxue quickly comforted. Little phoenix, if you have nowhere to go, stay here with me, Leng Ruoxue said again. The little phoenix raised its head and chirped again, as if to say, I'm here to keep you company. Hehe. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. With the little phoenix's company, she felt much better. Sister, you seem to be very happy. At this moment, Qingju, who also felt Leng Ruoxue's mood, suddenly sent a voice transmission. Yes, I have company, Leng Ruoxue replied. What company? Qingju was curious. That's it. Leng Ruoxue gestured for Qingju to look at her palm. Where did this come from? Qingju's face was filled with question marks. It flew in by itself. Leng Ruoxue pointed at the window. Oh, hehe. I'm relieved that sister is in a good mood. Qingju seemed to heave a sigh of relief. However, this little phoenix looked a little familiar. However, he couldn't remember where he had seen her before. Silly, don't worry about me. I'm fine. Leng Ruoxue was a little touched. Even though she didn't enter the bracelet, she knew how anxious Qingju and Fengzhan were. Sister, If that man is transmitting his voice next time, think of a way to make him let you leave the room. Qingju reminded. He knew that his sister had been bored to death after being locked in the room for a while. Well, actually, it's quite good to be locked up here. At least it's quiet. Sun Tao can't enter even if he wants to. Leng Ruoxue mocked herself. She felt like she was tied in front of a donkey and could see the carrot that couldn't be eaten. And that donkey was naturally Sun Tao. Sister, endure for a few more days. When you and the others come out of seclusion, they can save us and leave this place, Qingju comforted. Yes, I can wait, as long as Sun Tao doesn't bother me, Leng Ruoxue said. However, while wishes were beautiful, the truth was cruel. As soon as Leng Ruoxue finished thinking, Sun Tao came again. Beauty, did you miss your brother? The annoying voice sounded again. Leng Ruoxue didn't even look at Sun Tao. Bang. She closed the door and windows, then covered her head with the blanket and lay on the bed. Sun Tao saw that he had been rejected, but he was neither angry nor angry because in his heart, Leng Ruoxue was already his, and women should be pampered. Beauty, it seems like you're not in a good mood today. I'll take my leave first. I'll visit you another day, Sun Tao muttered to himself before leaving Leng Ruoxue's room dejectedly. After Sun Tao left, Leng Ruoxue stood up from the bed and opened the door and windows again to let in some fresh air. Haha, this little girl has quite a personality. Suddenly, another annoying voice sounded in her ears. If you have something to say it, Leng Ruoxue said impatiently. You're a girl. Don't be so rude, the man said. What does it have to do with you? Leng Ruoxue rolled her eyes and said angrily. This man was too controlling. It was fine if he locked her here, but he actually cared if she was rough or not. How ridiculous. Haha. Little girl, do you want to leave the room? The man was in a good mood and didn't argue with Leng Ruoxue. Instead, he suggested a big bait. What are the conditions? Leng Ruoxue asked calmly. She didn't expect this man to take the initiative to mention it. However, she didn't believe that this man would suddenly be kind and be willing to let her out. As long as you don't leave the one family mansion, the man said. Letting this little fox out would take a certain risk, so he naturally had to negotiate the conditions first. Is it that simple? Leng Ruoxue said in disbelief. I still have to temporarily seal your mystic energy, so you have to behave yourself, the man reminded. If you seal my mystic energy, what if someone from the one family bullies me? Leng Ruoxue said unhappily. She couldn't agree to this. If she sealed her mystic energy, she would be no different from an ordinary person. Chapter 898. Haha. I thought you were very smart, the man said mockingly. What do you mean? Leng Ruoxue was a little puzzled. What did this have to do with whether she was smart or not? Don't you have any beasts? You can summon them to help. The man reminded. My beasts are all in seclusion, Leng Ruoxue said innocently. Those who weren't in seclusion couldn't come out to meet others. Who asked them to be in someone else's territory? That's a coincidence, the man said in disbelief. What a coincidence. My beast has been in seclusion for several years and hasn't come out, Leng Ruoxue explained. I have to seal your mystic energy. However, since your beast can't help you, I'll help you. The man thought for a moment and said, Would you be so kind? Leng Ruoxue didn't believe it either. Of course I'm very kind. After all, you're my disciple's future woman. I don't want anything to happen to you either, so I'll place a restriction on you. If your life is in danger, it will automatically activate to protect you. That should be fine, right? The man asked. What if my life isn't in danger and I'm just being bullied? Leng Ruoxue felt that this man's words were too much, and there was no guarantee at all. Please keep reading on MYB0's novel. Then it's none of my business, the man said irresponsibly. As far as he was concerned, he was already very generous to let the little girl out for a breather. How could he be her nanny? Oh, since you don't care that I'm being bullied, I sincerely hope that you won't interfere when I bully others. Leng Ruoxue smiled evilly. Well, this was her condition. Even without her mystic energy, she wouldn't let herself suffer. All right, I naturally won't interfere in the fights between you juniors. The man agreed without thinking because he didn't think that a little girl with her mystic energy sealed could cause any big waves. However, it didn't take long for him to regret his decision. Then when can I leave the room? Lung Ruoxue nodded in satisfaction and asked. She had already decided. Since she couldn't escape now, she naturally wouldn't let the Wen family have it easy. As the saying goes, if I can't beat you, I have to kill you. Therefore, unless he locked himself in the room forever, the Wen family would definitely be the unlucky ones as long as she went out. Her mystic energy was sealed? It didn't matter. She was poisonous. She couldn't use mystic techniques? It didn't matter. She still had sword techniques. Can't beat you? It doesn't matter. She can use words to attack you and anger you to death. Now is fine. After the man finished speaking, a white light hit Lung Ruoxue. In an instant, Lung Ruoxue felt the circulation of the mystic energy in her body being stopped. As for the restriction that the man mentioned, she didn't feel it. Well, perhaps the restriction would only be triggered when her life was in danger. Did you put down the restriction? Lung Ruoxue asked worriedly. She felt that this man's words were unreliable. It's already done. Don't worry, with my status, I won't bully a junior, the man said calmly. But you will catch a junior, Lung Ruoxue said lightly. I did it for my apprentice, the man said defensively. So what if you have a master as your backer? Lung Ruoxue rolled her eyes and mocked. Haha, little girl, don't tell me you're jealous. Why don't you become my disciple too? The man laughed. No, I have a master. Lung Ruoxue refused. Is your master as powerful as me? The man was very dissatisfied. With his status, he wanted to take in a disciple, but he was actually rejected so directly. This had never happened before. This couldn't help but make him feel a little uncomfortable. I don't know, Lung Ruoxue said without thinking. With that, she headed for the door. It was still shielded by a thin film, but this time she could walk right through it. After leaving the room, Lung Ruoxue went straight to the courtyard. Breathing in the fresh air, Lung Ruoxue was in an exceptionally good mood. She could finally see the light of day again. It was really not easy. Little girl, take care. The man's voice came again, and then it really disappeared. Ugh. He was really gone this time. Lung Ruoxue didn't hear the man's voice for a long time, and thought that he had already left. However, she was not interested in why the man was silent. In the courtyard, Lung Ruoxue summoned Xiaohua from the bracelet. As soon as Xiaohua came out, it rubbed against Lung Ruoxue's wrist affectionately, and then put on the bracelet again. Looking at the crystal-clear fiery red fake bracelet, Lung Ruoxue had to admit that it was really beautiful. No wonder people always liked Little Flame. Lung Ruoxue left the courtyard with Xiaohua and toured the Wen family mansion. The Wen family was indeed worthy of being one of the 8 great families of the God realm. A branch house on the divine continent was actually so big. After walking for nearly an hour, she actually didn't see a single person. Where did the people of the Wen family go? Woman, there seems to be someone there, Little Flame said with his eyes. Lung Ruoxue looked in the direction of Little Flame's eyes. There was a courtyard there, but it didn't look like a place where anyone lived. Lung Ruoxue slowly approached the courtyard. Before she entered, she heard fighting sounds coming from inside. Oh, what was going on? Who is it? Get out here. Suddenly, a loud shout came from the courtyard. Then, a young man instantly appeared in front of Lung Ruoxue. Who are you? The man was stunned and said with a stunned expression. I was just passing by, Lung Ruoxue said calmly. Then, the two of them stared at each other. This young man looked to be in his 20s. He was tall and handsome, but his temperament gave people a dangerous feeling. Moreover, his eyes contained a rather fierce light. Lung Ruoxue glanced at the man in front of her and realized that she couldn't see his cultivation level, so she wasn't interested in observing him anymore. Could it be that everyone here had a higher cultivation level than her? She was depressed. Chapter 899. Which side family are you from? The young man narrowed his eyes and asked suspiciously. He was very sure that he had never seen this beautiful woman before. However, if she wasn't from the Wen family, why was she here? The third side family. Lung Ruoxue said casually. Which side family? How would she know which side family she was from? Third side family? Then why haven't I seen you before? The young man was a little puzzled. If she was from the third side family, she should be very close to his bloodline, so he should have seen her before. Have you seen everyone in this residence? Lung Ruoxue asked. Of course. I can't say that I've seen them all, but I've seen at least 99% of them, the young man said confidently. I'm sorry, I belong to the 1% you haven't seen before. Lung Ruoxue said sympathetically. It seemed that she had met another rich scion with abnormal mental health. Maybe. The young man thought about it very seriously and felt that it was possible, so he believed Lung Ruoxue's words. Wen Chenghao. What's your name? The young man asked again. Moreover, his attitude was extremely good, in stark contrast to the arrogant voice from before. Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue deliberately didn't say her surname. This name is very nice. Little sister Ruoxue, I'll protect you from now on. If anyone dares to bully you in the Wen family, you can just give them my name, Wen Chenghao said very enthusiastically. Moreover, his relationship with Lung Ruoxue had suddenly changed from a stranger to an older brother and younger sister. Please keep reading on MYB Zero's novel. Okay. Lung Ruoxue smirked and said speechlessly. Another person calling himself her elder brother. Could this be a common hobby of men in the God realm? Well, she had to restrain the freak to prevent younger sisters from appearing for no reason. Little sister Ruoxue, why are you here? Wen Chenghao smiled happily and asked in confusion. This was the most remote place in the Wen family. Few people would come here. I live nearby and left the courtyard for the first time today, but I didn't see anyone, so I came to take a look when I heard voices here. Lung Ruoxue said honestly. Oh, you live nearby? Wen Chenghao frowned. When did people live nearby? Yes. It's just a few courtyards away from here. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment and said. Oh, little sister, I still have something to do here. Go and play by yourself first. When I have time I'll visit you, Wen Chenghao said. Then he wanted to send Lung Ruoxue away. Okay. Lung Ruoxue acted very obediently, and then turned to leave. After leaving the courtyard for a distance, Lung Ruoxue sent a voice transmission to Qingju. Qingju, what's the situation inside? Sister, someone was beaten up. That Wen Chenghao just now was their leader. That guy is the direct grandson of the head of the Wen family in the Divine Land, the little tyrant of the Wen family, Qingju explained simply. Oh, Lung Ruoxue understood, and continued to walk towards the place where there might be people. Well, her goal today was to figure out the terrain of the Wen family. It was best if she could know a few people from the Wen family. Lung Ruoxue looked around leisurely as she walked and memorized the places she walked past. Suddenly, a delicate shout entered her ears. Stop. Who are you? This is not a place for you. Lung Ruoxue didn't think that he was talking to her, so she continued to do what she was doing. This completely angered the owner of the voice. A group of young women blocked her path, and the beautiful woman in the lead, who was dressed in fiery red clothes, glared at her fiercely. The lackeys behind her also looked like they were united against a common enemy. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but find it funny when she saw this scene. She knew that she didn't have much luck with women, but she didn't seem to have offended this woman. Therefore, she really didn't understand why this woman acted like she was the enemy who killed her father. I'm talking to you. Didn't you hear me? The woman in red roared, glaring. When did you talk to me? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with innocence. Alas, what a pity. She was a beauty, but her words ruined this beautiful picture. Didn't you hear me when I asked you to stop just now? The woman in red continued to roar at the top of her lungs. She was so angry that her full chest kept heaving up and down. Unfortunately, no one admired her. You made me stop? Oh, let me give you a suggestion. Lung Ruoxue suddenly said seriously. What suggestion? The woman in red was stunned by Lung Ruoxue and asked foolishly. Speak less in the future, Lung Ruoxue said seriously. Why? The woman in red asked shamelessly. You're even more beautiful when you don't speak. Lung Ruoxue walked past the stunned woman in red and left coolly. Damn it, where's that woman? After a while, the woman in red regained her senses and was furious. He left. A woman behind the woman in red whispered. Damn it, why didn't you stop her? The woman in red was very angry. She was so angry that she was about to vomit blood. If he said that she was more beautiful when she didn't speak, wouldn't that mean that she wasn't beautiful when she spoke? Did he want her to be mute? Third miss, we didn't dare to stop her without your permission. Another woman whispered. You're all trash. Are you fools? Can't you tell that she's humiliating me? I don't care. Find that woman before dawn tomorrow. Otherwise, don't even think about eating for a month. The woman in red ordered domineeringly. Yes. The women hurriedly replied. Then they went to the one family's residence to look for someone. They were not allowed to eat for a month. Third miss would do such a thing. They were not gods yet, and they had to eat every day. Otherwise, they would be hungry. Therefore, they did not dare to neglect. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue felt that she had walked around enough today, so she directly returned to the courtyard where she was temporarily staying. As for the woman in red's act of looking for someone, she didn't care at all. Moreover, before returning to the courtyard, she even did a little good deed. Chapter 900. You're even more beautiful when you don't speak for. Lung Ruoxue returned to the courtyard and went straight into the room. Not long after, someone brought her dinner. That person stared at her as usual after she finished eating before leaving. Lung Ruoxue closed the door and windows and lay on the bed to tease the little black phoenix lying on her palm, while Qingju reported the one family's situation to her from time to time. Sister, something has already started to happen. Qingju sent a voice transmission gloatingly. Ever since his sister was trapped here, he had been quite depressed. Today he would treat it as collecting interest. Oh Qingju, we can rest now. Someone might come looking for trouble tomorrow. Lung Ruoxue said knowingly. Then she closed her eyes and the little phoenix lay on her chest. The next morning, Lung Ruoxue was waiting for someone to deliver breakfast as usual. However, instead of breakfast, a few uninvited guests from the one family came. Head butler, it's her. We saw her in the main courtyard yesterday. She's very suspicious. A young woman pointed at Lung Ruoxue and said to the middle-aged man, Do you have anything else to say? The middle-aged man asked indifferently. At the same time, he was a little surprised. As the butler of the one family in the land of God, he actually didn't know that there was a devastatingly beautiful woman living in this courtyard. This could definitely be considered his dereliction of duty. I don't know what I should say because I don't know what you mean at all. Lung Ruoxue said with a light smile. How dare you? Let me ask you. Why are you living in this courtyard? Who exactly are you? The one family's butler questioned. Even though no one had lived in this courtyard for a long time, he couldn't let anyone live casually. Moreover, no one had greeted him before, so this seriously affected his authority. He definitely couldn't tolerate it. She humiliated third miss yesterday, head butler. The young woman added. You still dare to humiliate third miss, which is even more of a crime. Men, bring her to see the Patriarch. Wait for the Patriarch's punishment. Under the order of the one family's butler, 2 guards stepped forward to capture her. Lung Ruoxue dodged the 2 guards' outstretched wolf claws and said with a faint smile, I don't need you to catch me. I'll walk myself. Humph. At least you know your place. The one family's butler was very satisfied with Lung Ruoxue's cooperation. The woman heaved a sigh of relief when she saw that she had found Lung Ruoxue. Well, she was the one who found this woman. Third miss should reward her. However, she was also a little worried. Now that third miss couldn't get out of bed because of diarrhea, she didn't know if she could still receive a reward. Lung Ruoxue walked slowly behind head butler 1, and the head butler turned around from time to time to urge her. Walk faster, did you not eat? I really didn't eat. Is this how the one family treat their guests? No one brought me breakfast. This is too much. I want to complain. Lung Ruoxue complained. I haven't eaten yet. What are you shouting about? Butler One said angrily. The One family had been tortured since last night. They would now react reflexively when they saw food. You're just a servant of the One family. It doesn't matter if you eat or not. I'm a guest. How can you let a guest starve? Lung Ruoxue said angrily. Servant? When the One family's butler heard this word, he was immediately furious. He was the head butler of the One family. When did he become a servant? Damn woman. The head butler was about to teach Lung Ruoxue a lesson when he suddenly felt an uncomfortable stomach, so he quickly abandoned Lung Ruoxue and ran towards the toilet. Why did you run away by yourself as the head butler? Lung Ruoxue asked, knowing full well what was happening. This is none of your business. The woman who came with the butler shouted. Then she also felt that her stomach was a little bad, so she ran away without looking back. Lung Ruoxue saw that two people had already run away, so she turned to look at the guards watching her from behind. However, before she could speak, those guards all ran away with flushed faces. These people were really too irresponsible. Didn't they say that they wanted to bring her for interrogation? They actually left her in the courtyard and all of them ran away. Then in this situation, should she still listen to the patriarch of the One family? Lung Ruoxue was very conflicted. After thinking for a while, she finally decided to listen to the patriarch of a certain family. Well, she had always been a good child who abided by the law. Besides, she knew the main courtyard. She would go inside today to take a look. Otherwise, she might not have the chance to enter usually. Lung Ruoxue arrived at the main courtyard leisurely and walked in without any obstruction. After entering the main hall, she did not see anyone. Lung Ruoxue raised her beautiful eyes and openly sized up the furnishings in the main hall. As expected of one of the 8 great families, the One family. This main hall was really luxurious. The walls were inlaid with night pearls that were bigger than an adult's fist, and the 4 corners of the pillars were filled with various crystals. Oh, so much money! At this moment, although there was no one in the hall, she couldn't come for nothing. She should wait here. Thinking of this, Lung Ruoxue casually found a seat and sat down. Then she picked up the snacks on the table and started eating. Chapter 901. The Depressed Patriarch of the One Family 1. As soon as the head of the One family walked into the main hall, he saw a beautiful woman sitting on the main seat and eating snacks. She was so comfortable. He was stunned for a moment before reacting. Who are you? Why are you here? The head of the One family asked in surprise, his handsome face full of question marks. The One family elders who followed behind him into the main hall were also confused. Who are you? Lung Ruoxue asked instead of answering, looking like she was taking the initiative. I'm the patriarch of the One family, the head of the One family replied somewhat uneasily. His chest was still heaving up and down. It was unknown if he was angry. I'm a guest of the One family, Lung Ruoxue said calmly. Her beautiful face was calm, and she didn't feel that there was anything wrong with her current position. At the same time, she ignored the glare from the head of the One family. What kind of guest doesn't know the rules? An elder said. Same to you. Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly. What do you mean? The elder was stunned by Lung Ruoxue's words. You don't know how to treat guests. Lung Ruoxue chuckled and poured herself another cup of tea. Whose guest are you? The patriarch of the One family asked foolishly. However, as soon as he asked this question, he felt a little uncomfortable in his stomach. Then, he ran out without looking back. See, Lung Ruoxue shrugged and looked at the remaining old man in the hall helplessly. The elders still wanted to say something, but they didn't say anything. They also ran out of the hall with red faces. Lung Ruoxue was extremely happy to see them coming and going. It was said that there was an ancient well in the One family's mansion. There was no way to determine its age. However, the water in the well was said to be extremely sweet, so the One family could not drink it without the ancient well. After seeing that well yesterday, Little Flame, who had never liked water, actually went into the water to swim happily. Hee. Lung Ruoxue smiled evilly and ate while waiting. After a long time, the exhausted patriarch and elders of the One family returned to the main hall with pale faces. After the head of the One family returned, he couldn't be bothered to scold Lung Ruoxue for snatching his seat anymore. He sat down beside her, and the elders of the Wen family who followed closely behind also found their seats. Little girl, do you know you're sitting in my seat? After calming down for a moment, the head of the Wen family asked weakly, his pale face still filled with dissatisfaction. I'm sorry, I just found a random place to sit. Lung Ruoxia's beautiful face was filled with innocence, and her words made the already exhausted head of the Wen family almost vomit blood. There are so many places. Why are you sitting here? The patriarch of the Wen family pointed at his seat and asked angrily. When he was relieving himself just now, he had been thinking about who this woman was. However, he came to the conclusion that he didn't know this woman, so whose guess was she? The view here is good and spacious enough, Lung Ruoxia said calmly. The patriarch of the Wen family was depressed. He kept looking at Lung Ruoxia as if to say, that's my seat. Unfortunately, Lung Ruoxia ignored the Wen family's patriarch's expression. Patriarch, bad news. I caught the suspect and ran away. Suddenly, the Wen family's head butler ran into the main hall in a panic and shouted loudly. What suspect? Why are you making such a fuss? The patriarch of the Wen family roared angrily, venting all the anger in his heart on the head butler. Patriarch, I caught a suspicious person. However, my stomach suddenly felt uncomfortable just now, so I let her escape. You. Why are you here? Before the head butler could finish speaking, he saw Lung Ruoxia sitting on the main seat from the corner of his eye and almost jumped up in shock. Why was this woman sitting in the position of the patriarch of the family? Could it be that she was really a guest of the Wen family? The Wen family's head butler's mind was filled with thoughts, but he could not make up his mind. The head butler and the others were irresponsible and left me halfway. I had to come myself, Lung Ruoxia said with a wicked smile. The Wen family's head butler was depressed. This wasn't what he was thinking. However, who exactly was this woman? What should he do? He was very conflicted. Head butler, do you know this lady? The patriarch of the Wen family's gaze swept across Lung Ruoxia and the head butler. No one knew what he was thinking. Patriarch, she's the suspect I was talking about, the Wen family's head butler said softly. What? The head butler of the Wen family was stunned for a moment before he roared in disbelief. He thought to himself, this woman is so bold. She's being treated as a suspect by the head butler, but she actually dares to sit on the main seat that belongs to him so casually. Thinking of this, he didn't know what to do. Patriarch, how should we deal with this woman? After seeing the patriarch's reaction, the Wen family's head butler became a little uneasy. What did the patriarch mean by this reaction? Miss, who exactly are you? Why did you appear in my Wen family? The patriarch of the Wen family asked calmly, but in fact he was not calm at all. My name is Lung Ruoxia. As for why I appeared in the Wen family, you have to ask your family. Lung Ruoxia was extremely indifferent. The patriarch of the Wen family was depressed. Ask the Wen family? Which member of the Wen family? After a moment of silence, the patriarch of the Wen family decided not to dwell on this woman's identity for the time being and figure out the entire situation. Head butler, what do you think is going on? The patriarch of the Wen family looked at the butler and asked. When the Wen family's butler heard the patriarch's question, he hurriedly explained what had happened. In the end, he did not forget to say, I heard that she even humiliated 3rd Mississippi. After hearing the butler's words, the patriarch of the Wen family was in a dilemma. He did not expect this young lady to have been discovered in the courtyard that had been empty for a long time. He already knew who brought her here. This matter was not easy to handle. Even though there was no substantial evidence, this young lady was a suspect after all. If he didn't say or do anything, how could he convince the public in the future? However, she was brought back by that old ancestor, so he really didn't dare to deal with Lung Ruoxia casually. Alas, what should he do? Chapter 902. The depressed patriarch of the Wen family too. How did he humiliate 3rd Miss? Just as the patriarch of the Wen family was thinking and feeling extremely conflicted, an elder of the Wen family asked the head butler curiously. The Wen family's head butler was stunned. He didn't know either. He had heard it from others. I'm just saying that third miss will be even more beautiful if she doesn't speak. Lung Ruoxua saw that the head butler couldn't answer, so she replied kindly on his behalf. Pfft. Lung Ruoxia's words actually made some of the One family elders laugh. Only this? At this moment, the patriarch of the One family came back to his senses and could not help but ask. Of course, I'm just making a suggestion. I don't know if third miss is willing to listen. Lung Ruoxua said innocently. Patriarch One, is this considered humiliation? Lung Ruoxua turned around and asked very innocently. Not really. The patriarch of the One family sighed, and said helplessly. Hee, Patriarch One is so sensible. As expected of the patriarch of the family, Lung Ruoxua said casually. Miss Lung, this matter doesn't count as you humiliating my granddaughter. What about the poisoning? The patriarch of the One family took a deep breath and said as calmly as possible. Poison what? Lung Ruoxua pretended to be stupid. She didn't poison him. She just met a well and let Fiery swim in it. Since last night, our One family has collectively suffered from diarrhea. After our investigation, we found that someone poisoned the water, the One family's patriarch said bluntly. There's such a thing? You're really pitiful. However, are you sure it's poison and not diarrhea medicine? Lung Ruoxua asked curiously. Of course. Moreover, this is a poison that we've never seen before. The patriarch of the One family said with certainty. There happened to be someone in the family who was proficient in poison, but that person was helpless against this poison. Oh, Lung Ruoxua replied faintly, and didn't continue. Miss Lung, what do you say about this? The patriarch of the One family asked stubbornly, the anger in his heart surging to the top of his head. What does the patriarch of the One family want me to say? Admit that I poisoned him? Lung Ruoxua asked with a light smile. You're the most suspicious. There's no one else in the One family except you. The One family patriarch said. Then can't it be made by your insider? Don't forget, I ate dinner last night too, Lung Ruoxua reminded. Then why are you fine? The head of the One family gritted his teeth and asked. The members of the One family were about to collapse from diarrhea, but the woman in front of him was feeling refreshed. How could he not be suspicious? How do you know I'm fine? Lung Ruoxua asked. Thanks, The patriarch of the One family was stunned, and did not know what to say. You didn't send anyone to watch me. How do you know I'm fine? Besides, even if I have diarrhea, I want broadcasted everywhere. Lung Ruoxua asked patiently. Even though he still doubted the authenticity of Lung Ruoxia's words, the head of the One family had to admit that her words made sense. Hence he fell silent again. Miss Lung, this might be a misunderstanding. You can go back now. The patriarch of the One family was silent for a long time, but he could not think of a reason. All right, I'll go back first. By the way, Patriarch One, I'm already full from breakfast here. You don't have to send me anything. Just send me lunch, Lung Ruoxua said with a light smile. Then she stood up and swaggered out of the main hall. As soon as Lung Ruoxua left, the One family's butler couldn't help but ask. Patriarch, are we going to let her leave just like that? What else? The patriarch of the One family asked. Lung Ruoxua was brought back by the old ancestor. Would he dare to touch her? But she's really the biggest suspect. The One family's head butler refused to give up. Don't say any more. She was brought back by the old ancestor. Unless there's evidence, we can't touch her. The One family's master thought for a moment and said this fact. Oh. This matter was still considered a secret in the One family. The old ancestor had only told him about this matter, and he had not told anyone about it. However, the old ancestor had only told him that he had brought someone back and arranged for her to stay in the courtyard. This was the first time he had seen this person today, and he had only found out that the other party was a woman. Sigh. He wondered what that old ancestor wanted to do by bringing back such a peerless beauty. What? The patriarch of the One family's words were like a bomb, causing the butler and elders to be dizzy. Patriarch, are you sure? The One family's butler said fearfully. The old ancestor had brought him back. Oh my, had he caused big trouble? Ooh, the old ancestor wouldn't blame him, right? Yes, a while ago, The old ancestor personally told me that he brought someone back and placed him in the courtyard. Because the person was brought back by the old ancestor, I didn't tell you guys, the one family's patriarch explained. In fact, he had heard from the maidservant who delivered food to Lung Ruoxua that there was a barrier outside that person's room. So he didn't tell others about this because he thought that the old ancestor didn't want others to know of her existence. However, when he saw that Lung Ruoxua could actually come out of the room today, he guessed that the old ancestor had allowed her to come out. Therefore, he told these elders Lung Ruoxua's identity as a reminder. Patriarch, since the person was brought back by the old ancestor, what should we do? An elder asked awkwardly. I don't know. The old ancestor didn't say anything, so we should try not to provoke her. The one family's master thought for a while and said, Sigh. Perhaps he should go see the old ancestor and test him. Patriarch, should we send someone to monitor her? The one family's butler asked again. Why are you monitoring her? I said that unless there's evidence, we can't touch her. Patriarch when repeated. Alas! Today he realized that the usually capable butler had actually become stupid. But I still feel that she's the most suspicious, the head butler said softly. Sigh. Forget it, then send a few smarter ones to monitor her. However, don't alert her and let her discover you. The one family's head sighed. Chapter 903. The Depressed Patriarch of the One Family 3. Yes, master. I'll arrange it right away, the head butler said quickly, then turned and left the main hall. I'll go see the old ancestor. All of you can go back to your rooms to rest. The patriarch of the One Family stood up and said. After Lung Ruoxua left the One Family's main hall, she leisurely returned to her residence. In the courtyard, Lung Ruoxua lay on the recliner and basked in the sun, communicating with Qingju from time to time. Sister, why were you so easy to talk to just now? Qingju asked curiously. That old man asked his sister to come back just now, but she actually came back obediently. What else can we do? We're living under someone else's roof now. How can we dare to disobey our master? Lung Ruoxua said helplessly. Hee hee. Woman, you're so bad. Little Flame, who was disguised as a bracelet, chuckled and whispered. Actually, it was because the woman knew that its poison was not as simple as making people have diarrhea, so she could not be bothered to waste her breath on them. After all, the show was still coming. Little Flame, how am I bad? I'm the kindest. I won't attack unless I'm attacked. Lung Ruoxua said aggrievedly. Seeing Lung Ruoxua's expression, the little black phoenix that had been staying on her quickly rubbed against her as if to comfort her. Its dark and bright eyes looked at her deeply as if trying to please her. You're the best. Lung Ruoxua stretched out a jade-like finger and gently touched the soft feathers on the little phoenix's body. At the same time, she couldn't help but mutter in her heart, this gaze is really too similar to a freak. I wonder how they are now. At this moment, the freak and the others had already arrived at the One Family's divine realm after flying for a few days. Commander Yi, the One Family's divine realm is formed by several cities. I wonder which city Miss is in now. As soon as he arrived at the territory of the One Family's divine realm, Fengde could not help but ask. This is only a subsidiary city of the One Family's divine realm. Well, stay here for the night and go to the main city of the One Family's divine realm tomorrow morning. Yichen replied. Since Schwer had been brought to the One Family's divine realm by that person, and that person's status in the One Family was extremely high, he must be in the main city. However, it was already late, and Thunder Knight was a little shameless. Therefore, he decided to rest here for the night, and continue on the journey tomorrow. Okay. They nodded. Yi Chun and the others casually found a guest shop to rest for the night. The next morning, they flew straight to the main city of the One Family's divine realm. After 2 days of non-stop flying, they finally arrived at the center of the One Family's divine realm 2 days later in the evening. It was also the main city where the One Family was located on the divine continent. After entering the main city of the One Family's divine realm, they rented a courtyard and temporarily stayed there. During the day, Fengde and the others went to the city to gather information. At night, everyone shared the situation and discussed countermeasures. Yi-Chen. After Lung Ruhan came out of the room, he saw Yi-Chen standing alone in the courtyard. He couldn't help but sigh. Looking at him, he was thinking about his sister again. Big brother, why aren't you asleep yet? Yi-Chen turned his head and asked Lung Ruhan. I can't sleep either. I wonder how Schwer is doing, Lung Ruhan said worriedly. Even though Schwer was very smart, she was still his most beloved sister. It was impossible for him not to be worried at all. Thanks, Schwer will protect herself. Yi-Chen chuckled. He missed Schwer so much. I know. Lung Ruhan nodded. Yi-Chen, what are your plans? Lung Ruhan asked after a few seconds of silence. I want to find a chance to sneak into the One family, Yi-Chen said after a moment. Whether or not he could save Schwer now, he wanted to be by her side. But it's not that easy to enter the One family. Moreover, hasn't there been a rumor in the city recently that something happened to the One family? The current One family is probably so heavily guarded that even a fly can't fly in. Lung Ruhan gloated. Moreover, according to his guess, if this matter was true, it was most likely caused by Schwer. He'll think of a way eventually, Yi-Chen said confidently. Sigh. If only Yao was by his side. That way, he could sneak into the One family in stealth. Unfortunately, Yao was still in seclusion. He couldn't even help Schwer, let alone him. Yi-Chen, we can't rush the matter of saving her. Besides, there's a difference in strength between us and the other party. And Schwer won't want you to take the risk, Lung Ruhan reminded him. I know, Yi-Chen said. Rest early, Lung Ruhan said as he patted Yi-Chen's shoulder. He didn't want this guy to think too much. Yes, Nightshade said, and obediently returned to her room. When he returned to his room, Yi-Chen lay on the bed, his heart warm because he felt Schwer again. 3 days later, Lung Qianya and Empty followed the secret code they had agreed on, and found their residence. Everyone exchanged pleasantries for a while. Then Lung Qianya unintentionally looked at Fengda and the others' cultivation levels and widened his eyes in disbelief. You bunch of freaks, you're all junior gods now. Looking at the cultivation of Fengda and the others, Lung Qianya was extremely depressed. How long had it been? These people were simply asking for death. You'll get used to it. Compared to Lung Qianya's surprise, Empty was quite calm. After all, he had been with them for a long time, so he was already used to their abnormality. Why did you guys arrive later than us? Yi-Chen asked in confusion. These two should have arrived before them. We went to look for Grandpa, but we didn't find him. He didn't reply to our voice transmission either, Lung Qianya said worriedly. Grandpa would never be so irresponsible, so he was really afraid that something would happen to Grandpa. Fortunately, Grandpa's soul jade token was still intact, so he was slightly relieved. You didn't find him? Yi-Chen frowned. It was best if he couldn't contact her. Otherwise, if something really happened to Lung Xiaoyu, Schwer would probably blame herself. Oh right. Have you confirmed little Schwer's location? What's the One family doing now? Lung Qianya asked. Schwer is currently locked up in the One family's mansion. As for the One family, they have been suffering recently, Yi-Chen explained simply. He already knew where Schwer was locked up, but he had yet to think of a good way to sneak into the One family. Chapter 904. The depressed patriarch of the One family for, Lung Qianya's face was filled with question marks. Yi-Chen had no choice but to elaborate. Didn't the One family recruit an alchemist? Lung Qianya asked in confusion after hearing Yi-Chen's words. Logically speaking, if the One family was really poisoned, shouldn't they first find an alchemist to refine an antidote pill? However, from Yi-Chen's words, it seemed that the One family had never made any big moves. Well, could it be that others knew? No, Yi-Chen said. He had thought of using the name of an alchemist to sneak in. But if they offered themselves up, they might arouse the One family's suspicion. So they had been waiting for an opportunity. This One family is quite tolerant. If this poison is really related to little Schwer, I'm afraid no alchemist other than Schwer can cure it. Lung Qianya said in admiration. Little Schwer was really too capable. She could even poison the One family under the nose of that powerful man. What an idol. Yes, but the One family hasn't made any moves. They must be counting on the alchemists provided by their family. Yichen guessed. Looks like we can only wait now. Leng Qinya nodded. In the main hall of the One family mansion, the head of the One family paced back and forth in the main hall like a cat on hot bricks. The elders who were watching felt dizzy, but none of them dared to say anything because they knew that the head of the family had been in a bad mood recently. After wandering around for an unknown period of time, the head of the One family let out a long sigh. He was extremely depressed. It had been almost half a month. In the beginning, his family members had diarrhea, but now their bodies were itchy and aching. From time to time, their bodies would heat up. He did not know what to say. The only ones who were fine in the entire family were the old ancestor and Leng Ruoxue. The old ancestor was spared because his cultivation level was high, and he had long stopped eating. However, Leng Ruoxue was only a mystic supremacy. Why was she fine? These days, the guard in charge of monitoring Leng Ruoxue also reported that there was nothing suspicious about that woman. She only ate and slept every day and did nothing else. How had that happened? He did not understand. Patriarch, something bad has happened. Just as the One family's patriarch was feeling extremely frustrated, the One family's butler shouted again and ran into the main hall. Thanks, what are you shouting for? The head of the One family glared at the butler and said angrily, Master, Excellency Ming has also been poisoned. The head butler said carefully. They had invited this alchemy master from the main family, but now he had also been poisoned. How were they going to explain this to the main family? What? How did Excellency Ming get poisoned? The head of the One family was shocked when he heard this. This was not a small matter. It had to be known that the main family had spent a lot of money to provide for these alchemists. Even though this Excellency Ming was not the top alchemist in the family, he was definitely one of the best. More importantly, the food that Excellency Ming ate was bought from outside. The possibility of being poisoned was extremely small. I don't know. I just received a report from my maidservant. The head butler said tearfully. Elders, do you have any good ideas? The head of the One family asked helplessly. Excellency Ming's poisoning had left him at a loss. Patriarch, if it really doesn't work, ask the main family for help again. An elder said very cautiously. You still want to borrow it? Do you want the main family to think that we're useless? The patriarch of the One family said with a headache. He also wanted to borrow it. However, the thought of the reaction from the main family made him want to cry. Why don't we hire an alchemist ourselves? Another elder suggested. The cost of hiring an alchemist was not small. Therefore, any family with strength would provide for the alchemist themselves. They would only go to the Alchemist Association if they had no choice. How much would it cost to treat yourself? No, it's not worth it. An elder immediately objected. If we don't invite them ourselves, are we going to trouble the main family? We have to pay for borrowing people from the main family. Not only that, but it might also give the people who are eyeing the fat piece of meat and looking for trouble a chance to take advantage of it. Therefore, we really can't borrow people from the main family anymore. The elder who suggested to hire an alchemist said. Patriarch, I think sixth elder makes sense. Let's invite them ourselves. An elder echoed. Yes, head butler, take my note and go to the Alchemist Association. The patriarch of the One family said helplessly. Yes, the head butler replied and turned to leave. Oh. Fortunately, this poison was a sequential attack, so before his poison acted up he had to invite the alchemist back. After the butler left, the patriarch of the One family sat down on a chair and ignored everyone else, sulking alone. Chapter 905. Visit One depressed. He was really depressed. It wasn't easy for him to borrow an alchemist from the main family, but he was actually poisoned. Then wouldn't his money be wasted? Thinking of this, his heart ached. Even though it was cheaper to borrow someone from the main family than to go to the Alchemist Association, the Alchemist Association could be responsible until the end. And could he ask the main family to be responsible until the end? Of course not. Therefore, he felt that it was a huge mistake to borrow someone from the main family back then. Patriarch, The world has already come to this. There's nothing else we can do. An elder tried to persuade him. In fact, he wanted to say that the patriarch should take it easy. However, when he thought about it, it was a little inappropriate. After all, no one in the Wen family had died yet. So, who was so wicked as to do such a thing to them? Could it be the Fan family? Among the 8 great families, only the Fan family liked to cause trouble for the Wen family. The elder thought for a moment and said, "Master, could the Fan family have sent someone to do this?" "I don't think so. This is our Wen family's territory. The Fan family shouldn't have the guts." An elder guessed. Who could it be then? The elders thought hard. However, even if they racked their brains, they probably wouldn't be able to figure out who the culprit behind their torture was. Everyone, don't think about it anymore. Hurry up and return to your rooms. The poison will flare up again in a while. The head of the Wen family sighed and reminded them. Sigh. Fortunately, this poison only flared up once in a while. Otherwise, they would be depressed to death. That's right. The elders hurriedly ran back to their rooms as soon as the patriarch reminded them. In the courtyard, Lung Ruoxue lay comfortably on the recliner with food and drink beside her. Her days were extremely carefree. "Little girl, did you do this?" Suddenly, a familiar voice entered Lung Ruoxue's ears. "What is it?" Lung Ruoxue frowned slightly, her beautiful face filled with confusion. "Little girl, don't play dumb. You know that I'm referring to the Wen family's collective poisoning." The man was faintly angry, and his voice clearly revealed his displeasure. "What does that have to do with me?" Lung Ruoxue said calmly. "Humph. Something happened the day I let you out. How dare you say that it's none of your business?" The man was a little angry. Even though he had no evidence that this matter was related to Lung Ruoxue, he didn't believe that such a coincidence existed in the world. However, he regretted it more. Sigh. He really shouldn't have let this little fox out of the room. "Oh, can I say it's purely a coincidence?" Lung Ruoxue probed. "I can't. There aren't that many coincidences," growled the man. "In that case, why are you asking me?" Lung Ruoxue rolled her eyes and said angrily. This man was too bored. Since he had already determined that she did it, why did he come to ask her? It was a voice transmission. "Little girl, I can spare you if you hand over the antidote." The man said bluntly. "I don't have the antidote. If you really think I did it, just kill me. Anyway, in the eyes of a powerhouse like you, I'm just an ant. You can kill me with one finger. So stop talking nonsense. I don't have the antidote, but I have my life." Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. "Thanks, damn little girl. Are you sure I won't kill you?" The man said angrily. In fact, even though he suspected that Lung Ruoxue was behind this, he really didn't have any evidence. Therefore, he originally wanted to trick her, but he didn't expect this little girl to be so unyielding. This made him feel a little embarrassed. The man, caught between a rock and a hard place, released his ultimate god-level pressure and attacked Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue gritted her teeth and endured the intimidation and pressure of the pressure. Her beautiful eyes glared fiercely at the void. Even though she didn't know the exact location of this man, she believed that he would feel her tenacious resistance. Ever since she was young, she had never been someone who would admit defeat easily. She would rather die than admit defeat. She would not admit defeat no matter how powerful the other party was unless she died. Thinking of this, Lung Ruoxue secretly activated the defense of the Heaven and Earth bracelet, hoping to resist it. However, because this man was an ultimate god, it was very difficult for her to resist. Not long after, Lung Ruoxue's face was covered in sweat, and the two of them were in a stalemate. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue was so unwilling to give in, the man became even angrier. To be honest, in all his life, he had never seen such a woman. Thinking of this, he strengthened his pressure. He wanted to see how long this little girl could last. Damn it! Lung Ruoxue gritted her teeth and endured the immense pressure. A sense of powerlessness surged in her heart. Gradually, she could no longer resist. Bright red blood oozed from her pores. After some time, Lung Ruoxue spat out a mouthful of blood. She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. She still had no intention of begging for mercy. she had persisted for so long. If she admitted defeat and begged for mercy, wouldn't she be fulfilling this man's wish? This little girl was really arrogant. The man was helpless and was about to retract his pressure. After all, he didn't really plan to kill Lung Ruoxue. However, before he could remove the pressure, Lung Ruoxue fainted because she could not withstand this powerful pressure. Sigh. The man sighed softly and appeared in the void. Then he bent down and picked up the unconscious Lung Ruoxue, sending her back to the room. When Lung Ruoxue woke up, it was already dark. Ugh. How had she gotten back into the room? She remembered fighting the man. Sister, I was so worried. Buhu Qingju's voice sounded in Lung Ruoxue's heart. Qingju, I remember. Lung Ruoxue was interrupted by Qingju before she could finish. Sister, you couldn't withstand that man's might and fainted. It's all because Qingju is too useless. Qingju blamed itself. Its elder sister wouldn't have been injured if it was strong enough. It wasn't the only one who blamed itself. Fengzhan and the other beasts were the same. The collision between Lung Ruoxue and the man was only a few seconds. Therefore, even if Fengzhan and the other beasts wanted to bear the man's pressure for their master, they would not have been able to do it in time because it was only a moment in time. Chapter 906, Visit 2. Qingju, little fool, how can I blame you? I'm the one that is too weak, Lung Ruoxue comforted. At the same time, she lowered her head and realized that her injuries had already healed. Elder sister, he gave you a pill. Qingju knew what Lung Ruoxue was thinking and quickly said. Oh. Lung Ruoxue nodded. She guessed that the man probably wouldn't kill her, so she was just taking a gamble at that time. She couldn't admit that she was the one who caused the recent events in the One family after all. Otherwise, wouldn't everything she did be in vain? Suddenly, Lung Ruoxue felt the abnormality in the bracelet. With a thought, she moved the little black phoenix out. The little phoenix looked at her with tears in its eyes. After confirming that Lung Ruoxue was fine, it pounced on her neck and kept rubbing against it. Lung Ruoxue felt that her neck was a little wet and couldn't help but place the little phoenix in her palm helplessly. She comforted, "Don't cry. Aren't I all right?" However, the little phoenix was abnormally agitated, as if it was saying, "It would have been too late if something went wrong and that you did not treasure yourself. I'm sorry I was wrong." Lung Ruoxue apologized to the little phoenix helplessly. She knew that she had made this little thing worry, but in the situation at that time, if she gave in, that man would probably really kill her. Moreover, when the man sent a voice transmission, she secretly sent little phoenix and little fire into the bracelet. This was probably one of the reasons why it was angry. The little phoenix bounced a few more times excitedly, as if to say, "Don't do this again." Yes. Lung Ruoxue, who understood what the little phoenix meant, quickly nodded, but she couldn't help but chuckle in her heart. What a little housekeeper. In the next few days, Lung Ruoxue stayed in her room to recuperate, because she was injured. Meanwhile, the One family was in a gloomy mood. In the main hall of the One family mansion, the head of the One family lowered his head and sat on the main seat listlessly. The elders of the One family were also trembling in fear and did not dare to make a sound. How could this be? They had paid an extremely high price to invite the alchemists of the Alchemist Association, but who knew that they were also poisoned? Moreover, after the Alchemist Association changed a few alchemists for them, none of those alchemists were spared. This was really too strange. They couldn't figure it out, and now the Alchemist Association refused to take on their business at all. Sigh. They were so worried. After a moment of silence, an elder couldn't help but say, "Patriarch, we have to think of a way. If this continues, we will die of pain. If anyone has a solution, just say it. Why are you still hesitating at this time?" The One family's patriarch said a little gloomily. Things had really not been going well recently. He didn't know which enemy they had provoked. Sigh. "Thanks, Patriarch. We can't borrow alchemists from the main family. Now that the Alchemist Association won't accept our business, we can only rely on the Mission Association," the elder suggested. Last time, he was the one who suggested hiring people from the Alchemist Association. However, who knew that those alchemists were so useless? It was fine if they couldn't refine the antidote pills they needed, but they actually poisoned themselves. Mission association? No. Wouldn't that mean that others would know that something has happened to our one family? An elder immediately objected after hearing this suggestion. This matter was quite embarrassing. How could it be released as a mission? Humph. Do you think no one knows now? Almost everyone in the one family's divine realm has already spread the news. It's just that they don't know if it's true or not. Moreover, if we don't issue the mission to seek virtue, are we going to endure torture and wait for death every day? Who knows if this poison will worsen in the future? At that time, will you still be able to sit here? That elder analyzed angrily. The one family always had some short-sighted people who liked to think that they were infallible. The more they hid the matter, the worse it would become. Stop arguing. Just follow the sixth elder's instructions and issue a mission to the mission association. However, don't do it in the name of the one family. The one family's master thought for a moment and said, this matter shouldn't be blown up too much. Otherwise, how could the one family survive in the God realm in the future? Moreover, once this matter was exposed, their sworn enemy, the Fan family, would probably hide in a corner and be secretly happy. Head butler, send someone no one knows to the mission association. The one family's head instructed again. Yes, I'll send someone over now, the one family's butler hurriedly said. After the mission was issued, the one family had been looking forward to it. Unfortunately, it had been 5 days, but no alchemist was willing to accept their mission. This could not help but make the one family very disappointed and depressed. Damn it, can't we find an alchemist in the God realm who can cure this poison? An elder in the main hall stomped his feet in anger. Third elder, calm down. Otherwise, the poison will act up again. Someone immediately reminded him. Recently, the poison seemed to have been affected by their emotions. If they didn't calm down, it would also stimulate the poison to act up. Thank you for the reminder, the third elder of the one family hurriedly said. Then he carefully sat on the chair, not daring to make any big movements. Patriarch, elders, there's good news. Suddenly, the one family's head butler ran in from outside. What are you shouting for? The patriarch of the one family roared angrily. Recently, he felt that this head butler was getting more and more incompetent. Patriarch, there's good news. Someone has accepted the mission we issued. The one family's butler said happily. Head butler, don't be happy too early. Calm down. An elder said. Patriarch, should we invite the person who accepted the mission back? The one family's butler said awkwardly. He knew that the patriarch had been very displeased with him recently, but he couldn't be blamed for what had happened in the one family recently. He wasn't the one who caused it. Please come back. The patriarch of the one family sighed. He might as well make a Hail Mary effort. Now, he basically did not dare to have too much hope in those alchemists. Yes, I'll go invite them now, the one family's head butler said. Then he disappeared. After a long time, the one family's head butler finally invited the alchemist who had accepted the mission back to the one family. Chapter 907, Visit 3. When the patriarch of the one family and the elders saw the alchemist and his attendant, they all fell silent. Because these two people were really too unique. The word ugly was not enough to describe their ugliness. However, he was here to refine pills for them, so they naturally couldn't mock him, let alone judge him by his appearance. Soon, the patriarch of the one family forced himself to calm down and said, May I know your good name? Good name? I don't have a good name. Zheng An, who had come to the one family as an alchemist, said foolishly. In fact, he was also an alchemist. However, he was afraid that the man who had taken the young miss away would recognize him, so he and his servant had both taken the disguise pill. As for his servant, it was naturally Yi Chun. I meant to ask for your name. Beads of sweat dripped from the patriarch of the one family's forehead as he said speechlessly. Oh. I'm sorry. We came from a small place, so don't mess with us. You don't understand. Zheng An deliberately looked for trouble. It's my fault for not thinking it through. I'm sorry. The patriarch of the one family held his breath and said helplessly, "Alas!" He really doubted that these two people could refine the pills they needed. However, no one dared to accept his family's mission other than them. Therefore, he could only treat them politely and let them try. "It's okay, I forgive you. Master often said that adults don't hold grudges, so I won't hold it against you," Zheng En said generously, and his words almost made the Wen family head vomit blood. Damn. It had only been a short while, but he had already become a villain. The patriarch of the Wen family was depressed. However, he had already made up his mind. If this person couldn't cure them, he would definitely not let these two ugly fellows off. Thank you for your magnanimity. May I know your name? The patriarch of the Wen family refused to give up. He had to ask this person's name. "My name is Zheng Ershawan. Ersha means second fool. He's my servant, called Dasha, too. Dasha means big fool." Zheng En had no intention of telling the patriarch of the Wen family his name. However, seeing that he was asking so persistently, he didn't want to embarrass him too much. Therefore, he thought of these two names. As for why he gave foolish to Yi Chen, well, wasn't it because Commander Yi was his fiancée? After hearing these two names, Yi Chen and the patriarch of the Wen family's faces darkened. Yi Chen was depressed because he didn't expect Zheng En to spout such nonsense. Alas! This name didn't match his appearance. On the other hand, the head of the Wen family was clearly angry. Could this be considered a name? He seriously suspected that this Zheng Ersha was playing with him. Moreover, since he was a servant, why was he called foolish? He couldn't figure it out. "Isn't that Excellency Zheng Ersha your attendant? Why is he called foolish instead?" Even though the patriarch of the Wen family didn't ask, an elder asked the question in his heart. "I don't know. This is the name my master gave me." Zheng En blamed his master. "Where is your excellency now?" When the patriarch of the Wen family heard this, his eyes lit up and he hurriedly asked. To be honest, he really did not have much confidence in this Zheng Ersha. Therefore, when he heard that this person had a master, he was extremely happy. "Thanks, I lost my master," Zheng Ersha said with some grievance. It's okay. Tell me what your master's name is. I'll send someone to find him." The patriarch of the Wen family ignored the word, lost, and hurriedly said, "My master is called Sanshawan. Sansha means third fool." "Sorry to trouble you," Zheng En said gratefully. When the patriarch of the Wen family heard this name, his expression turned even uglier. He could not help but feel uneasy in his heart. So this was a family of fools. The servant was called Big Fool, the disciple was called Second Fool, and the master was actually Third Fool. Alas! What was going on? Thinking of this, his eyes flew towards the butler as if he was silently saying, "Who are these people you brought back?" When the elders of the Wen family heard Zheng En's words, they were all speechless and their hearts turned cold. Alas! They had high hopes for the person on the mission. However, looking at this person now, they could place all their hopes on him. The elders were very uncertain. When Yi Chen, who was standing beside Zheng En, heard Zheng En's words, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. At the same time, he was a little glad that he was the biggest fool. "Patriarch Wenham, I have something to report to you." Zheng En hesitated. "What is it?" The patriarch of the Wen family's heart skipped a beat as a bad premonition surged in his heart. "Even though I'm an alchemist, I'm unlicensed. So if you're not afraid of death, I'll give it a try," Zheng En said with a wicked smile, his expression as innocent as possible. What do you mean?" The patriarch of the Wen family asked foolishly. "That's what I meant. I'm an unlicensed alchemist who isn't recognized by the Alchemist Association. So, if you're not afraid, I have nothing to be afraid of." Zheng En deliberately paused before continuing. "Do you dare to try?" Zheng En asked again. His eyes were filled with endless anticipation, and his face was even redder. "Be my laboratory rat." The patriarch of the Wen family and the elders were completely depressed now. After all this time, the alchemist they had been waiting for so long was actually. What should they do now? The patriarch of the Wen family and the elders looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Could it be that they really wanted to let this unlicensed alchemist do whatever he wanted? Excellency Ursha, this news is a little sudden for us. Can you give us some time to think about it? The head of the Wen family pretended to be calm. In fact, he was so angry that he was about to explode. Yes, sure. It doesn't matter how long you want to consider it, Zheng En said indifferently. Anyway, he wasn't the one suffering. Head, bring Excellency Ursha and his attendant to rest. Arrange for them to stay in the spring warmth pavilion. The Wen family's head instructed. Even though he did not think highly of this Zheng Ursha, he still had to serve him well, because the more friends you have, the more options you have in life. Chapter 908, Visit 4. Patriarch 1, there's no need to stand on ceremony. It's better to arrange a place with fewer people for us. We like silence and don't want to be disturbed. Seeing that he was going to arrange accommodation, Zheng En hurriedly suggested. The places with fewer people are relatively remote, and no one has lived there for a long time. I'm afraid we'll neglect Excellency Ursha, the patriarch of the Wen family said with some difficulty. In fact, he really couldn't bear to let these two fools stay in the spring warmth pavilion. After all, that place was prepared for VIPs by the Wen family. It's okay. It's better to be remote. This way, I won't have any pressure to let the servants test the medicine, Zheng En said with a smile. Patriarch 1, not only is he my servant, but he also has to test the effects of anything strange that I refine. If the medicinal effect is too painful, I'm afraid it will scare the Wen family, Zheng En continued. Oh, in that case, butler, arrange a remote and sparsely populated place for Excellency Ursha. They are our Wen family's esteemed guests. Tell those servants and maidservants that no one is allowed to neglect them. The Wen family's patriarch said. Yes, the head butler replied. Then he said to Zheng En and Yi Chen, Excellency Ursha, this way please. Seeing that Zheng En and Yi Chen had already left the main hall with the head butler, the patriarch of the Wen family couldn't help but sigh and say, Elders, do you have any objections? Patriarch, if he can really refine an antidote pill, there's no harm in letting him try, an elder said. I don't want to be a test subject anymore. Patriarch, let's wait. What if someone else accepts the mission? An elder in black who didn't look easy to get along with said. The sixth elder thought for a moment and said very cautiously, before the alchemist refined the antidote, didn't he also think that we were testing the medicine? Since it's all testing, what's the harm in letting him try? Even though the alchemists who were invited back previously had refined some medicinal pills, they did not have any effect after taking them. Instead, they showed a more serious trend. Later, for some reason, those alchemists actually poisoned themselves. Thinking about it now, it was quite funny. Patriarch, I think the sixth elder is right. In any case, since so many alchemists can't do anything about our poison, it doesn't matter to let that Ursha try too. An elder echoed. But you heard it too. That Ursha didn't receive the recognition of the Alchemist Association. The Wen family's patriarch reminded. Patriarch, I don't think he has ever gone to the Alchemist Association to be certified. He said that he came from a small place, the sixth elder guessed. He knew that anyone with some ability was very low-key. His intuition also told him that Zheng Ursha was that kind of person. Therefore, compared to those alchemists who were extremely famous, he believed in the simple, honest Zheng Ursha more. Thanks, then should we let him go to the Alchemist Association to verify it first? An elder asked. Don't. People with true ability have strange tempers. If we let him go for verification, I'm afraid it will leave a bad impression on him. Patriarch, don't doubt the person you use and don't use the person you doubt. Let's give it a try, the sixth elder suggested. All right, then let's follow sixth elder's instructions and let Zheng Ursha try. Seeing that no one raised any objections, the Wen family made the final decision. At this moment, Zheng En and Yi Chen had already been brought to a courtyard by the Wen family's butler. I'm sorry, the two of you. No one has lived here for a long time, so, the Wen family's head butler said, a little abashed. Even though he didn't know Zheng Er's ability, he didn't dare to offend an alchemist. It's okay. I like such a place. It's intimate. Zheng En said indifferently. Then he turned to the head butler and said, Head butler, you've worked hard. You can go back and report. Okay, well, I'll send someone to clean up the place later, the head butler said. No, I don't like crowds, so don't let anyone disturb me, Zheng En refused. They weren't here on vacation, so he really didn't care much about where he lived. All right then. Since the other party was unwilling, the head butler could not force him. After saying that, he turned around and left the courtyard. After the head butler left, Zheng En carefully sized up the courtyard. This head butler is really honest. I said to be more remote, and he really brought us to a courtyard that has been abandoned for God knows how long. Zheng En said speechlessly after looking around the courtyard. That's because they don't believe you can cure their poison. Otherwise, they would have offered you a much better place. Yi Chunchen said knowingly. It doesn't matter. By the way, when are we going to take action? Zheng En whispered. There's no need. Shuer is already here. Yi Chen said confidently. Chapter 909. Meeting, Refining Pills for the One Family 1. Ah, really? Zheng En was a little skeptical, his face full of question marks. Yi Chen nodded with a faint smile on his face. Yes. Shuer, I'm about to see you. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue was originally resting in the room. But the little phoenix that had been lying on her suddenly became restless. Moreover, it left her side and flew out the door. Lung Ruoxue did not understand and was a little worried, so she could only follow the little black phoenix out of the room. Where are you going? Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but ask in surprise when she saw the little phoenix flying out of the courtyard. The little phoenix stopped and looked at Lung Ruoxue with his dark and bright eyes, as if to say, come with me. After a few seconds' pause, the little phoenix flew on. Lung Ruoxue was helpless and could only follow it. She followed the little phoenix to a courtyard. When she saw the two people standing in the courtyard, she was stunned. Then she whispered in surprise, Freak! Lung Ruoxue did not expect to see the person she had been thinking about day and night here. However, she also knew that this was the One family, and her every move was being monitored, so she did not dare to show her joy too obviously. Yi Chen's lips twitched in a faint smile at the endearing address. Even though he looked calm, the joy in his starry eyes could not be concealed. How wonderful! He had finally met Shuer. Even though the two of them had to pretend not to know each other before they can save Shuer, he was excited to see her standing in front of him. Miss, you're so beautiful. Let elder brother Dasha hug you. Yi Chen pretended to be a lecher, and stretched his wolf claws onto Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face. He finally touched Shuer. It felt so good. Dasha. Lung Ruoxue was stunned and looked at the two people in front of her in confusion. However, when she saw the mischief in the freak's eyes, she couldn't help but secretly laugh. My tofu isn't that delicious. Yes. Dasha. He's Ursha. His squire. Yi Chen said with a faint smile. Hearing the freak's introduction, Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. She thought to herself, these two names are really unique. Beauty, what's your name? Yi Chen asked deliberately, his hand still stroking Shuer's beautiful face. Sigh. What a pity. He could only touch her small face and hands. Lung Ruoxue, is elder brother Dasha a member of the One family? Lung Ruoxue asked with a light smile. No. We came because we accepted the mission issued by the One family. However, before we came, we didn't expect that the mission was actually issued by the One family. We came for that high bounty. Yi Chen explained, then added in his heart, we came for you, Shuer. Thanks, what mission did the One family issue? Lung Ruoxue asked knowingly, her beautiful face full of question marks. The detoxification mission, of course. Because someone in the One family was poisoned, Yi Chen said with a smile. Oh, it's been so long. Is the One family's poison still not cured? Lung Ruoxue pretended to be curious. She had to put on a show, so she could only pretend not to know anything. Of course they didn't. Otherwise, they wouldn't have issued missions at the Mission Association, Yi Chen said happily. Oh, elder brother Dasha, the One family is very rich, so if you detoxify the One family, don't forget to ask for more money. Lung Ruoxue reminded with a naughty smile. Yes. Don't worry, little sister Shuer. We will definitely demand an exorbitant price and slaughter the Wen family. Yichen promised very seriously. Elder brother Dasha, I'd like wish you success first. Oh. It's getting late, I have to go back, Lung Ruoxua said reluctantly. Then she turned around and left. Boo. She'd better endure it first. Even though she really wanted to hug the freak. Okay. Yichen nodded. Then he watched Lung Ruoxua leave, his eyes filled with gentleness and reluctance. Don't be like this. There's still a lot of time. Zheng'an could not help but say. Just now, he was so nervous that his heart was in his throat. He was afraid that if one of them lost control, all their efforts would be in vain. However, he did not expect the two of them to be so calm. They actually held back from losing their composure. Just mind your own business. Shuer and I know what we're doing. Yichen sighed. How he had wanted to hug Shuer, whom he had not seen in a long time. But now was not the time. Alas. I'm just reminding you. Zheng'an scratched his head and said in embarrassment. Yeah, we'll keep our eyes open, Yichen promised. That's good. Zheng'an was relieved. After Lung Ruoxua left the courtyard where Yichen and Zheng'an lived, she went straight to her room. Then, she lay on the recliner and pondered quietly, but her heart was beating excitedly. Freak, I've finally met you, Lung Ruoxua thought. It seemed that her previous efforts had not been in vain. Freak had indeed found a way to sneak in. How good. The residence of the freak, and Zheng'an was actually in the courtyard next to hers. Therefore, whenever Lung Ruoxua thought of the freak being so close to her, her mood would become much better. However, she could not interact too much with them, lest she aroused the Wen family's suspicion. Just as Lung Ruoxua had thought, the person who had been monitoring her reported the matter to the Patriarch of the Wen family. In the main hall of the Wen family mansion, the Patriarch of the Wen family sat at the head of the table and listened to his subordinate's report. However, his frown deepened, and his expression was extremely solemn. Furthermore, he did not say a word, causing the elders to feel uneasy. Do they look like they know each other? After a while, the head of the Wen family finally asked. The subordinate standing in the middle of the main hall thought for a moment and said, I don't think so. Besides, Miss Lung didn't stay long before leaving. Think about what was mentioned between them carefully. The Patriarch of the Wen family said worriedly. He was about to send someone to inform the two fools to refine pills for them, but he didn't expect to receive this news. Therefore, he had no choice but to reconsider. If they really knew each other and Lung Ruoxua was the target of their suspicion, there would be a huge problem. Chapter 910. Meeting Refining Pills for the Wen family, 2. Patriarch, even though I didn't dare to get too close, I heard it very clearly. They just got to know each other. Then Miss Lung said that our Wen family is very rich. If they cure us, get them to charge us more, the subordinate said with certainty. Because of the angle and Lung Ruoxua's back was facing him at that time, he didn't see Lung Ruoxua being taken advantage of. Charge them more? The corner of the Wen family patriarch's mouth twitched and cold sweat flowed down his forehead. Did Lung Ruoxua have a grudge against the Wen family? She actually encouraged them to collect more money. She was really too evil. 1. What is a little more money if they can really cure our poison? The sixth elder reminded the patriarch, seeing his expression a little strange. The most important thing now was the poison in their bodies. Money was just a worldly possession. If they died because of this unknown poison, who knew who would benefit from the Wen family's money? The words of the sixth elder made sense. Therefore the patriarch directly instructed the head butler who had just entered the main hall. Head butler, go and inform Ursha that we agree to let him try. Yes, master. The head butler took his orders and turned away again. Yichen and Zheng'an's residence. At the moment, they were in the room, sitting across from each other. You got what you wanted, Ursha. Yichen chuckled. The head butler had come to inform them that the Wen family was willing to let them try. He'll perform well. Zheng'an smiled evilly. As long as he thought about how the head butler's expression was as if he had seen a ghost when he saw him take out the list of medicinal herbs he needed, he wanted to laugh. How dare they capture his miss? If he didn't make them bleed, it would be difficult to appease the hatred in his heart. Who asked them to be unable to defeat the Wen family now? Therefore, he could only use other methods. As the two of them chatted, the Wen family's head butler arrived again. Excellency Ursha, I've brought all the herbs you need. The Wen family's butler handed over a storage ring with a pained expression. Sigh. This was all money. Even though he suspected there was no need for so many medicinal herbs to refine a pill. However, he did not dare to ask. If he angered the alchemist, it would cost him his life. Moreover, no one in the Divine Continent was willing to accept the detoxification mission issued by the Wen family except for this young Ursha. Head butler is really efficient. Actually, I don't know if these herbs are enough. I do need some more precious herbs. I hope you can help me find them. After saying that, Zheng took out a piece of paper from his ring and handed it to the head butler. Some more. The head butler reluctantly took the piece of paper from Zheng. He wanted to cry. Boo-hoo. This person didn't really think they were fools. Of course. Because I've never seen this poison before, I need to test many herbs. Head butler, you'd better be mentally prepared. If these herbs aren't enough, they'll have to ask you for more. Oh. You'd better tell your family head to prepare a few more portions of the herbs I asked for in advance. Otherwise, won't you be the ones who suffer? Zheng reminded very kindly, his expression very sincere. Okay. I'll let the head of the family know. With that, the butler left dejectedly with the list of precious herbs. The Wen family indeed has a lot of good stuff. Zheng glanced at the medicinal herbs in the ring, his ugly face almost blooming with joy. Thanks, don't laugh, Ursha. It's creepy, Yichen said helplessly. Oh, Zheng quickly nodded. His current appearance was quite scary when he smiled. How do you plan to embezzle these medicinal herbs from the Wen family? Yichen asked curiously in a low voice. Zheng had asked the Wen family for so many medicinal herbs. He did not believe that Zheng would use them all. However, if they were all used up, there had to be a good reason. After all, the Wen family was not stupid. You'll know when the time comes. Zheng smiled mysteriously. Then I wish you success first. At that time, someone might ask to watch you refine pills. You have to be mentally prepared, Yichen reminded him. Don't worry, I'm already prepared. Zheng was full of confidence, not worried that the Wen family would make such a request. The next day, the Wen family's butler came early. Sir Silly, here are the precious herbs you need. When will you start refining pills? The head butler handed over a storage ring. Even though his heart was bleeding, he still asked with a smile. Since I've prepared all the herbs I need, I can start refining pills at any time. Zheng said readily. Excellency Ursha, the elders are all very interested in your alchemy. I wonder if we can be present to watch? The butler pretended to be in a difficult position, his face filled with anticipation. Of course. I don't carry people when I refine pills. Zheng replied readily. He had indeed brought it up. Actually, he was really afraid that the Wen family wouldn't ask to see him refine pills. This way, even if he used up all his medicinal herbs, the Wen family probably wouldn't say anything. Thank you, Excellency Ursha. The head butler heaved a sigh of relief. In fact, he knew that many alchemists did not like to be disturbed when refining pills. Therefore, when he came, he did not have much hope for this request of his. Well, he did not expect Excellency Ursha to be quite easy to talk to. This was much better than many arrogant alchemists. Head butler, I can refine pills for your Wen family because of ape feces, so there's no need to be so polite. By the way, I'm going to start refining soon. Get all the elders who want to see it to come. Zheng reminded. All right, I'll let them know. The head butler said quickly and left. Not long after, the head butler led a group of elders to Zheng residence. In the room, Zheng looked at the elders in front of him and said enthusiastically, Everyone, sit anywhere you want. Don't stand on ceremony. No. Don't worry, Excellency Ursha. We won't disturb you while you refine pills, an elder said. He looked polite and terrified as if they were the guests. Chapter 911. Meeting, Refining Pills for the One Family 3. It's alright, don't be too restrained. I'm not that particular about refining pills, Zheng En said with a smile. Alright. All the elders nodded. After Zheng En was done being polite, he sat on the meditation cushion that had been prepared long ago. Then, he took out many medicinal herbs from his ring and piled them on the table beside him. After he lit the pill furnace that was half the height of a person in front of him, he placed those medicinal herbs inside together and even covered the pill furnace. The elders looked at Zheng En's alchemy technique and were puzzled. Why was this Zheng Er's alchemy method different from other alchemists? They had seen their family's alchemists refine pills, but they had never seen any alchemist put all the herbs into the pill furnace. Moreover, the herbs had yet to be melted into liquid, let alone purified. Why did they cover the lid first? In addition, they had never seen an alchemist use such a large pill furnace. Was this a furnace for alchemy? They were very suspicious. After Zheng En thought that he had done what he should do, he picked up the snacks that were prepared on the table and ate them. However, he kept observing the reactions of the elders from the corner of his eye. Seeing the confusion on the elders' faces, he felt proud. The elders looked at Zheng En, who was eating, with black lines on their faces. Their hearts were filled with doubts, but none of them dared to make a sound. After all, this was alchemy, even though the person who refined the pill was so casual and unruly. Not long after, a burning smell came from the pill furnace. The expressions of the elders changed, and a bad premonition surged in their hearts. Not long after, a burning smell came from the pill furnace. The expressions of the elders changed, and a bad premonition surged in their hearts. After opening the furnace, as expected, he found some black medicinal dregs in the middle of the furnace. When Zheng En saw this situation, he didn't even frown. He took out another pile of herbs and threw them into the pill furnace. Excellency Ursha, this doesn't seem appropriate. An elder couldn't stand it anymore and couldn't help but say, "You're an alchemist too?" Zheng En raised his eyebrows and asked. "I'm not," said the elder quickly. "Then don't interrupt." Zheng En growled with slight displeasure. After being shouted at by Zheng En, the elder really did not dare to speak anymore. However, he was extremely depressed. Even though he was not an alchemist, but he had seen alchemists refine pills like this before. His heart ached for those herbs. A moment later, the same thing happened. The elders felt their hearts ache, because these medicinal herbs belonged to the One family. The more Zheng En used, the more money the One family would spend. Damn it, I don't believe I can't refine a pill. Zheng En roared angrily. Then he took out more herbs and threw them into the pill furnace. Thanks, the pill furnace that Zheng En used was very big. Even though he had put in a lot of medicinal herbs, it only covered the bottom of the furnace. There were more herbs this time, so it took a little longer. About half an hour later, a faint fragrance finally floated out of the pill furnace. When the elders smelled it, they knew that the pill had finally been refined. However, it was unknown if it would be effective on them. Fortunately, the medicinal herbs this time were not wasted. Seeing that they had finally succeeded once, the elders smiled. How can I not be able to refine a small pill? Zheng En said happily. Then, he opened the furnace lid under the expectant gazes of the elders. The elders also craned their necks, afraid that they would miss this exciting moment. What was going on? Where were the pills? The elders had almost missed the pill furnace, but they could not find the whereabouts of the pills. The elders looked at each other in confusion. How could there be no pills? They could clearly smell the fragrance of the pills. So you're hiding here. Zheng En rummaged through the medicinal dregs and finally found a pill the size of a soybean. The pill was not round, but square. A square pill. The elders looked at the small pill in Zheng En's hand and felt extremely depressed. They had never seen a square pill in their lives. Could this pill be eaten? Would someone die from eating it? Looking at the square-shaped pill, some of the elders were already regretting letting Zheng En refine the pill. He actually refined such an abnormal pill with so many herbs. This was really too much. Who wants to eat it? Zheng En looked at the pill in his hand and said with a smile. None of the elders said anything. They lowered their heads in fear, and did not dare to look at Zheng An. They did not want to be guinea pigs. Why isn't anyone answering me? If you don't take the initiative, I'll call anyone. Zheng An sneered and threatened. Excellency Ursha, you should continue refining pills. When you refine more pills, well, try again. An elder said perfunctorily. They had no intention of testing the pills for Excellency Ursha. They had already planned in their hearts that if Excellency Ursha wanted to find someone to test the pills, they would just call a servant over. We don't even have any herbs left. How do I continue refining pills? Zheng An said calmly. No way. How can the herbs be gone after only 3 tries? When the elders heard this, they couldn't help but raise their heads and look at Zheng An in disbelief. Didn't you all see it? Do you think I can swallow that medicinal herb for myself? Zheng An said unhappily. Excellency Ursha, that's not what we meant. Don't misunderstand. An elder saw that Zheng An was a little angry, and quickly tried to smooth things over. I don't care what you think. In any case, you saw it just now. The first 2 attempts failed, and only the last one succeeded. You should know how many herbs you brought me, right? Did I swallow them? Zheng An glared and asked. The elders were a little speechless. Of course, they knew how many herbs they had taken. However, they did not expect Zheng An's success rate to be so low. Out of so many herbs, only 1 pill was produced, and it was squarish. How could they not be depressed? Chapter 9:12. Meeting refining pills for the one family for. Actually, I understand what you're thinking, but the poison in your bodies is too strange. I've never encountered it before, so I came up with this prescription and the method to refine pills myself. I don't know if it'll be useful, and I didn't expect the pill production rate to be so low. So, I have no choice. Zheng An continued as if he was distressed. Now that the pill has been refined, those herbs were not sacrificed in vain. Now, one of you can test the effect of this pill. Zheng An added. The elders only looked at Zheng An. No one spoke. It was obvious that they were unwilling to sacrifice themselves. Hurry up. If you delay too long, this medicine will be useless, Zheng An urged. Excellency Ursha, isn't your attendant here to test the medicine for you? Why don't we let him try it? An elder suggested. He's here to test the medicine for me, not for you. Besides, he's not poison like you. He won't be able to test the effect. Well, since you came up with this idea, you can try this medicine. After Zheng An finished speaking, he pulled the elder out of the crowd and threw the small pill in while he was opening his mouth slightly. It's so bitter. The elder was shocked. He wanted to spit out the pill with no effect, but the pill had already melted in his mouth. Furthermore, a bitter taste surged out of his mouth. Bitterness flooded his mouth. The elder quickly picked up the teacup on the table and drank the tea in one gulp. Slowly he felt the bitterness gradually dissipate. Why did you drink that water? Zheng An's eyes widened as if he was very helpless. Can't we drink this water? The elder asked in confusion. His heart was beating nervously. Of course not. I forgot to wash my hands after I visited the toilet before refining pills, so I washed them there. Zheng An said in embarrassment. The elder felt a wave of nausea wash over him. Why didn't you say so? The elder was furious. Then he ran out of the room like the wind. You didn't ask. Zheng An looked at the elder's back and felt extremely aggrieved. Elders, the herbs you gave me have all been used up, so you won't be able to continue admiring my alchemy today. Prepare some herbs for me as soon as possible. I'll continue to work hard and strive to cure you as soon as possible. Zheng An promised very sincerely. You want more medicinal herbs? The elders felt their hearts ache. There were so many medicinal herbs but only 1 pill. They really did not know what to say. Of course, the herbs you gave me previously were all used up. Didn't you see it? Well, if you can't bear to give me more herbs, it's fine. Anyway, I'm not the one who was poisoned. Zheng An said angrily. Excellency Ursha, we need to discuss this matter with the Patriarch. The 6th elder said reluctantly. He did not expect this Ursha to spend so much medicinal herbs. What a headache. Yes. Take your time to discuss. I'm not in a hurry. If you're done discussing, prepare more herbs. As you can see, refining a pill requires a lot of herbs. Zheng En reminded. All right, the sixth elder replied. With that, he left with the elders. After the one family left, Yichen stared at Zheng En with his dark eyes. Thanks, Dasha, don't look at me like that. I'm scared. Zheng En, who was being stared at by Yichen, said with a face full of fear. His heart was beating nervously. Really? Yichen said, smiling and staring. My lord, stop looking at me, please. Zheng En said meekly. That's better. Yichen said with satisfaction. Aye. Zheng En sighed, then whispered to Yichen. Really? Yichen looked surprised. Well, look at this. Zheng pointed to the interior of the furnace. He tapped the wall gently a few times, and the bottom of the furnace parted to reveal the secrets inside. It turned out that his pill furnace had 2 levels. The first level was for refining pills, and the second level was a self-contained space for storing herbs. As the pill furnace recognized its owner, he could control it with his mind. Therefore, if he wanted to tamper with it, no one would be able to discover it. This is a good furnace, Yichen said, impressed. Yes, the fewer people who know about this, the better, Yichen reminded. He could already tell that this pill furnace was extraordinary. If other alchemists knew that Zheng En had such a pill furnace, they would probably cause endless trouble. I know. Zheng En nodded solemnly. On the other side, after the sixth elder brought the other elders back to the main hall, he reported Zheng En's request to the Patriarch of the One family. Where's the 11th elder? After hearing that 11th elder had eaten the pill refined by Zheng En, the Patriarch of the One family couldn't help but look around. However, he couldn't find 11th elder's whereabouts. I don't know. The elders shook their heads. After coming out of Zheng Er's courtyard, they did not see 11th elder anymore. Head butler, send someone to look for him, the Patriarch instructed. Yes, the head butler said and left. It wasn't long before the 11th elder arrived at the main hall, but he looked pale and weak. 11th elder, what's wrong? The Patriarch of the One family was a little puzzled. Well, it shouldn't be time for the poison to take effect yet. Why did this 11th elder look so weak? It was really abnormal. Ugh, it's diarrhea. The 11th elder was a little embarrassed. He had actually been found in the outhouse by the head butler. Sigh. How embarrassing. It's not time for the poison to take effect yet. Why are you having diarrhea? The sixth elder asked in confusion. Chapter 9:13. Meeting refining pills for the One family 5. I don't know either. 11th elder was very depressed. Why was he the lab rat? 11th elder, how are you feeling now? The Patriarch was very curious. In fact, he had looked for the 11th elder mainly to find out about the effects of the medicine. I'm fine. I'm just a little weak, 11th elder said after some thought. 11th elder, go back to your room and rest well. If you feel anything wrong, send someone to inform me immediately. The Patriarch instructed. Thank you, Patriarch. Oh, go rest now. The 11th elder left the main hall. Elders, do you have any objections to Zheng Er's request? After the 11th elder left, the Patriarch continued to ask. Patriarch, only one pill came out of so many medicinal herbs. I don't think his level is very good. Let's not waste our time on him, an elder said. The sixth elder thought for a moment and said, Patriarch, didn't the 11th elder eat the medicinal pill refined by Zheng Ersha? Let's see the effect before making a decision. If that medicine really works, what's the harm in losing some medicinal herbs? Patriarch, I think the sixth elder's words make sense, an elder agreed. However, there were also people who disagreed. Therefore, for a moment, the elders of the One family were divided into 2 factions, and the Patriarch did not immediately make any decisions. It was not until 3 days later that the 11th elder appeared in front of them, lively and refreshed. Only then did the Patriarch and the elders agree. This was because they were pleasantly surprised to discover that the 11th elder's poison had been cured. Congratulations, 11th elder. You're the first to escape misery, the sixth elder said with a smile. There was finally some good news. However, he also regretted not eating that pill back then. The Patriarch waited for 3 days before finally confirming that the 11th elder's poison had really been cured. Therefore, he immediately ordered for the medicinal herbs Zheng En needed to be sent over. This time, the amount of medicinal herbs sent over was twice as much as the first time. Yi Chen and Zheng's courtyard. In the room, Zheng En looked at the storage ring full of medicinal herbs, and was so happy that he almost laughed out loud. However, he still had to pretend to be extremely calm on the surface. He said to the head butler who came to deliver the medicinal herbs to him, "Thank you, head butler. I'll immediately refine pills later. If the elders still want to watch, just let them come over immediately." "Very well," the head butler replied, and took his leave with great respect. "That butler's attitude seems to have improved," Yi Chen said after the butler left. "Hee, I'm their savior," Zheng En said matter-of-factly, but he was secretly calculating how many medicinal herbs he should embezzle this time. Yi Chen said with a chuckle, then fell silent. Not long after, the elders led by the sixth elder arrived. The elders came so quickly this time. Zheng En stood up and said, It's really because Excellency Heir's alchemy skills are too fascinating to us. An elder flattered. Since they already knew that Excellency Ursha could refine a pill that could cure their poison, they naturally had to curry favor with him. No. I was just lucky. Actually, I don't have much confidence in this success rate. Zheng En said humbly and said the ugly words first. In short, what he meant was that he didn't have much hope for me. I still needed a lot of herbs. It's all right. Our Patriarch said that as long as we can succeed, you can ask for any medicinal herbs you need. The elder reassured Zheng En. Thank you for thinking highly of me, Patriarch One. I'm really flattered. Zheng En said. His happiness was definitely genuine, because he had been waiting for this sentence. Excellency Ursha, can you start refining pills now? The elder asked again. Sure, Zheng En said very firmly. Then he sat down on the praying mat he had prepared, and began to refine the pill according to the previous step. This time, the pill refinement method was the same as last time. A large pile of herbs was thrown into the pill furnace. However, this time, 2 square-shaped pills were produced on the first try. However, after refining a few more times, they all failed. Thanks, sixth elder, there are only 2 pills. Who wants to eat them? After using up all the herbs, Zheng En looked at the pills in his hand and said awkwardly, I'll take one and give the other to the Patriarch, the sixth elder said. This was what they had discussed. All right. Zheng En handed the 2 medicinal pills to the sixth elder. Then, he said in embarrassment, I've used up all the medicinal herbs again. Excellency Ursha, don't worry. The family head said that as long as we can cure our poison, medicinal herbs are not a problem, the sixth elder hurriedly said. After saying that, he impatiently swallowed a medicinal pill. Oh, it was so bitter. It was 100 times more bitter than what the 11th elder had said. When the elders saw the sixth elder's pained expression, they knew that the medicine did not taste good. However, that medicine could cure their poison, so they had to eat it no matter how bitter it was. Unfortunately, it was not their turn yet. I'll refine pills for you when you send the herbs over, Zheng En said happily. All right, Excellency Ursha, we'll take our leave first. The sixth elder resisted the urge to drink water. After saying that, he left anxiously with the elders. Oh. He had to go back quickly and give the medicine to the family head. After Elder One left, Yi Chen couldn't help but ask curiously, there are so many people in the One family. How long will it take to detoxify everyone with such a refinement method? I don't know, but we're in no hurry, Zheng said irresponsibly. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw a black spot of light fly in through the window. Well, he didn't need to guess to know that the young lady had something to say to Commander Yi again, so he tactfully left. What he didn't know was that even if he didn't leave, he wouldn't understand the little phoenix's language. The little phoenix flew around Yi Chen twice, then squeaked at him again before landing on his shoulder. Tell Schwer I miss her too, Yichen said. Then, after a few more mushy words in code, the little phoenix flapped its wings and flew away. After coming here, he and Schwer did not dare to meet often, so this little black phoenix became their mouthpiece and often helped them pass on messages. After little phoenix left Yichun, he flew back to Lung Ruoxia's room. Then, after a few words with her, he lay quietly in her arms. Little guy, are you tired? Lung Ruoxia reached out a finger and stroked its soft feathers. Even though she didn't understand the little phoenix's language, she could understand what it was trying to say, so she was grateful to it. The little phoenix chirped softly and lay down again. Lung Ruoxia looked at the little phoenix and thought of the demon not far away. She was very happy. After the sixth elder returned to the main hall with the pills, he briefly explained what had happened and handed the pills to the head of the Wen family. He even urged the head to take the pills quickly. The patriarch looked at the square pill and frowned. However, he still put the pill into his mouth. Oh. Not only was this pill ugly, but it was also extremely bitter. Quick, bring me water. The patriarch said loudly with a bitter expression. The attendant beside him hurriedly handed him a cup of tea. After the patriarch drank it in one go, he felt the bitterness in his mouth fade. Patriarch, I'm afraid you'll have diarrhea after taking this medicine. The sixth elder reminded him. Yes, I'm going to the toilet. Butler, hurry up and gather the herbs. You can send them to Zheng Ersha. The head of the Wen family said with a pained expression. However, now that everyone in the family had been poisoned, even if his heart ached for the money, he could not ignore the lives of his clansmen. Yes, the head butler said. In fact, he also wanted to send the herbs to Zheng Ersha as soon as possible. However, after sending them twice, Zheng Ersha had already used up a third of the Wen family's stock. Moreover, there was a medicinal herb called rootless grass that the Wen family did not have much stock of. Therefore, he was currently purchasing this medicinal herb. Sigh. He did not know when the antidote for so many of them would be completely refined, and he did not know when he would get his hands on the antidote. How worrying. 2 days later, the head butler sent Zheng in another batch of herbs. Chapter 9:14. Allure 1. Zheng En actually produced 4 pills this time. This result made the elders of the Wen family so excited that tears streamed down their faces. Double. The pills produced this time were actually twice the previous time. They were extremely happy. From this, it could be seen how low their requirements were now. After the 4 elders took the pills, the other elders were a little worried again. This was because the success rate of that Zheng Ersha was really too low, and the number of herbs that their Wen family had accumulated over the years was also decreasing rapidly. They were afraid that all these herbs would be used up, and their Wen family's poison would not be cured. And that was indeed the case. After Zheng En used up all the herbs that the Wen family had stored for many years, at least more than half of the Wen family had yet to be detoxified. In the main hall of the Wen family, the head of the Wen family sat on the main seat with a worried expression. The elders sitting below him also had ugly expressions. Even though the poison in the people present had already been cured, none of them could be happy because there were still many people in the Wen family who had yet to be cured. And just to cure their poison, they had used all the herbs that the Wen family had accumulated, and even bought a lot of them outside. Behoyuro, this was all money. Patriarch, you have to think of a way. If this continues, our Wen family will spend all our money. An elder said worriedly. In fact, he was worrying too much. After all, the Wen family had been operating on the divine continent for many years, and had accumulated a lot of wealth. How could they spend all their money so easily? However, his heart ached for the money. Think of what? Hurry up and buy the herbs. We have to spend the money we need. Are we not going to care about those who are still suffering after our poison is cured? The 6th elder said angrily. He realized that after these elders' poison was cured, their attitude immediately changed 180 degrees. Even though he also cared about money, he couldn't ignore the other clansmen, right? 6th elder, that's not what I meant. The elder who spoke first hurriedly said. He did not dare to provoke this 6th elder who had a bad temper. Ever since the 1st elder and the others went to the main family, the 6th elder had the most power in the family other than the family head. Therefore he was afraid. Patriarch, I think that if we were to refine an antidote, we should give it to ordinary clansmen first. After all, we still have to count on them for the one family's chores. Sixth elder suggested. Right now, the poison in the head of the family's sons and grandsons had yet to be cured, so he knew that the herbs would continue to be purchased. However, once the poison in the patriarch and the immediate family of the elders was cured, the poison in the ordinary clansmen would be unprotected. That was why he had suggested this. The ordinary clansmen he was referring to were mainly the servants and guards of the one family. Even though those people also had the surname one, they were only distant relatives and did not have a high status in the one family. How can that do? It's not their turn now. As soon as the sixth elder said this, an elder immediately objected. The family head frowned and did not say anything. Why not? Aren't the chores of the one family done by ordinary clansmen? Now that they're poisoned, their efficiency is much lower. Moreover, only by detoxifying them can they serve the masters of the various houses better. Isn't that good? Sixth elder explained. Patriarch, the sixth elder's words make sense. An elder echoed. It had been a long time since his servant had served him seriously. However, he could not blame the servant for not working hard. Sigh. Patriarch, I agree with sixth elder, another elder said. Then several elders expressed their support for the sixth elder's suggestion. Thanks in that case, let's execute it according to sixth elder's opinion. The patriarch said very respectfully. Ordinary family members were indeed a huge problem that could not be ignored. Many of the one family's jobs could not be done without them. Even though their status in the one family was not high, their importance was reflected after such a matter. Butler, you have to hurry up and buy herbs. Don't worry about money. The head of the one family said to the butler beside him. Yes, Patriarch, I've been buying them. I bought another batch yesterday, and they should arrive tomorrow. The majordomo said hurriedly. Even though his poison had been cured, the poison of his subordinates had not. It could be said that he, the head butler, was now almost a lone commander, so he agreed with the sixth elder's suggestion. Otherwise, he would have to do many things himself now. Alas! That's good. Everyone disperse. The poison has just been cured. Go and rest. The patriarch urged. Then he stood up and left the main hall. The next day, the herbs that the head butler had been waiting for did not arrive as scheduled. According to the news that his subordinates had sent back, the herbs had been rabated €1 in the main hall of the one family. The patriarch glared at the butler angrily, his chest heaving up and down. Damn it, what did you say? The patriarch one family asked angrily. Patriarch, the herbs we purchased were robbed. They must have been made by the Fan family, the head butler said quickly. Is there any evidence? Patriarch roared angrily. The robber dropped this, the head butler said, handing over a sign. The sign was black and only the size of a baby's palm. On the front was the word Fan, and on the back was the totem of the Fan family and a small word Rouet. Fan Rouet. Damn it, it was actually that little bastard. The patriarch frowned, feeling a headache coming on. Fan Rouet was the youngest son that the head of the Fan family doted on the most on the god's mainland. He had nothing to do all day and committed all kinds of crimes. Not long ago, he had come to the one family's divine territory, and seemed to have had an argument with his grandson, Wen Chenghao. To be precise, his grandson had beaten Fan Rouet up. It seemed that Fan Rouet held a grudge and knew that the Wen family was in urgent need of medicinal herbs, so he had attacked and robbed them. Damn it. Patriarch, the most important thing now is to go to the Fan family and demand an explanation. The sixth elder reminded him. Didn't the Fan family also come to seek an explanation after Fan Rouet was beaten up a while ago? Therefore, they naturally shouldn't let go of this opportunity. Even though the Fan family and the Wen family had never gotten along and there were many disputes between the two families, they would still do certain things to save face. Alright, sixth elder, I'll have to trouble you with this matter. You must find those herbs. If you can get the Fan family to compensate us for our losses, that would be even better. The patriarch said, even though he knew that the Fan family would not make any compensation. Chapter 9:15. Allure 2. I will do my best. Patriarch, don't worry, the sixth elder promised. Then he brought a few elders directly to the Fan family's divine realm, Yi Chun and Zheng En's residence. At this moment, the two of them were sitting facing each other in the room. How much more herbs do you need to cure the Wen family? Yi Chun asked curiously. A lot more. There are too many people in the Wen family who have been poisoned, Zheng En said calmly. Sigh. How pitiful. Yi Chun said with apparent sympathy. That's right. Poor thing. Zheng En's face was filled with sympathy, but he was actually overjoyed in his heart. He had secretly taken a lot of the Wen family's herbs. Commander Yi, when are we leaving? If we treat everyone in the Wen family, it will be even harder to save Miss, Zheng En whispered again. It won't be easy to bring Shuer out even if we can't cure her. Don't forget that that person is still here. Yi Chun said gloomily. The person he was referring to was naturally the person who had captured Shuer. Alas, with his current strength, he was unable to take her away from that person. Then what should we do? We can't stay in the Wen family forever, right? Zheng En was a little worried when he thought of that powerful man. When the time comes, we'll find an opportunity, Yi Chun said. Shuer wasn't far away now, so he could afford to wait. Yes, that's the only way. I wonder how Fengda and the others are doing now. Zheng En said worriedly. They're fine, don't worry, Yi Chun said with a chuckle. Those guys were all smart. Yes. Zheng En nodded. Suddenly the head butler's voice sounded in their ears. Excellency Ursha, the head butler called and knocked on the door. Head butler, are you here to deliver herbs to me? Zheng En opened the door and said happily. He had been waiting for a few days. Excellency Ursha, I'm really sorry. I still have to wait a few days. The herbs I bought from outside were all robbed by the Fan family, the butler said angrily. Even though the Wen family and the Fan family's juniors often quarreled, it had always been a small conflict. The higher-ups of the two families rarely really fell out. Therefore, even though he was angry, he could not do anything to the Fan family. How did this happen? Zheng En looked puzzled. The Fan family has always liked to cause trouble for our Wen family, so the juniors of the two families often argue, and it's the same this time. The head butler explained simply. He naturally couldn't tell outsiders about the Wen family's secret. I understand. Moreover, I'm not in a hurry. However, your Wen family can't afford to delay it. I took a look yesterday. The poison seems to be getting deeper and deeper. If this continues, they won't need to use the antidote anymore. Zheng En sighed. Excellency Ursha, what do you mean? The head butler was stunned and very puzzled. Thanks, head butler, don't you understand? Zheng En said helplessly. Please enlighten me. The head butler said foolishly. He really didn't understand. If we delay too long, those people won't need to be treated anymore because they're already dead, Zheng En explained. Can this poison really kill people? The head butler was shocked and said in disbelief. Other than being in pain when the poison acted up, the people who were poisoned usually did not feel much discomfort. How could someone die? He could not believe it. I wouldn't have, but you guys dragged it out too long, Zheng En said in fear. How long do they have to live? The head butler asked, his face pale. It's hard to say. In short, the sooner you take the antidote, the better. Therefore, head butler, you have to work hard to buy herbs. Of course, if the Wen family doesn't want to save them, you can tell me in advance and pay me the remuneration so that I can leave immediately, Zheng En said. Excellency Ursha, I'll try my best to purchase herbs. Don't worry, I'll take my leave first. After hearing this news, the butler didn't dare to delay for a moment and hurriedly left. After the head butler left, Yi Chun stared at Zheng En with his starry eyes, but he didn't say anything. I was just scaring him, Zheng said softly, then lowered his head, not daring to look Yi Chun in the eye. Yi Chun chuckled. Then he stood up and said, I'll take a walk outside. Okay. Zheng En heaved a sigh of relief. However, he did not believe that this cunning Commander Yi would just go out for a walk. He probably went to see his Mississippi. Just as Zheng En had guessed, Yi Chun had indeed gone to see Shuer. He He and Schwer didn't dare to see each other every day. It was fine to meet occasionally and chat for a while. After all, the two of them were neighbors now. After Yichen arrived at the courtyard where Schwer lived, he saw Schwer lying on a recliner and basking in the sun. He sat down on the stone bench beside Schwer. "Elder brother Dasha, you're here," Lung Ruoxue said calmly. But her beautiful eyes were like burning flames, releasing a passion that only Yichen could understand. "Well, little sister Schwer stays in the courtyard every day. Aren't you tired of it?" Yichen asked deliberately. "I can't help it. I'm considered a prisoner of the Wen family. How would I dare to wander around the Wen family casually? The last time I went out, something happened to the Wen family, and they even blamed it on me." Sigh. Lung Ruoxue said bitterly, her beautiful eyes faintly sparkling. "Did someone malign little sister Schwer? That person is really too evil. Even if they can't find the culprit, they can't just frame anyone." Yichen said angrily. Sigh. "There's no choice. He's too strong, so of course he'll do whatever he says. How can a weak group like me dare to argue with others?" Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. "Little girl, are you blaming me?" Their conversation finally attracted a familiar voice. Yichen and Lung Ruoxue smiled at each other when they heard this voice. Then, Lung Ruoxue said in an extremely resentful tone, "How would I dare?" "Don't dare? Emph. Aren't you talking bad about me to this ugly freak now?" The man said angrily. In fact, he had been observing Lung Ruoxue almost every day for a while recently, so he naturally knew that she had some contact with this ugly freak. After hearing the two of them seem to be talking about him today, he was a little uneasy. He who had not spoken for many days, finally couldn't take it anymore and spoke. "You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."